breast milk is
grossed
not
out
the
by it.
nicest of things, anyways. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's fucking gross.
It is gross. So
All right. You ready to start?
I am ready.
All right. Some breast milk I was just slurping down there.
That's why I
Helps
was
the
looking
throat.
disgusting.
Helps the throat. All right. Good evening. Welcome to Sick and Wrong, the world's source for antisocial commentary. I'm one of your hosts, Simon.
Actung motherfuckers. I'm Kate Rambeau, the other one.
Kate, what is
Yes.
going on across the pond these days? It's crazy. You
Ooh.
guys have racist royals. You have cops kidnapping and murdering young women. You have men who, if they violate curfew, could be castrated. What's going on over there?
Well, the curfew isn't coming into effect, and well, I don't think it is, and I hope it isn't because I love the men's. I don't want to go to female-only bars. If I wanted to go to female-only bars, I would go to lesbian bars, but I don't. I like the men's. I want the sausage. I want it hanging around.
But just what's going on with all this violence? Like, I understand you guys idolize our culture, but you can't be us. It's not going to happen.
I
So,
know.
firstly, over here, football is called soccer, and it's a sport played by women. Secondly, you guys don't have any guns.
No, but we have Stab City.
You do have Stab City, but you
We've
don't have
got a Stab
guns.
City. No, no. Well, there are guns here. There are gun crimes that
Listen to this.
occur.
I was reading here that the U.S. civilians alone account for 393 million, 46% of the worldwide total of civilian-held firearms. That's 120.5 firearms for every 100 residents.
That is madness. That's like more than two guns in each household,
Per
basically.
person. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You guys got some catching up to do. You're gonna need some guns if you want to
bring
get
in.
our
Do you
violence
know what?
statistics.
In a world where women can't even walk around a city at 9 p.m. at night with their headphones in, yes, take the men off the street. They have been the
Well,
problem all along, and I'm ready for it to just be a woman-only society now. I'm ready for it, D.
I wonder how that would affect the stats here. I was reading in the UK among women age 18 to 24, 97% have said they've been sexually harassed, while 80% of all ages said they've experienced sexual harassment in public spaces.
So, but what do you mean by sexual harassment? This is what I'd ask. Because a boy gone, you're looking good tonight, baby. Because that's not harassment to me. That's a compliment.
I don't
And
know,
I would
maybe
thank
having
you.
like your ass pinched or something.
Yeah, that's different. That's never happened to me. I've never had my
Have
ass
you ever
pinched by
been
a
sexually
stranger.
harassed?
No, not that I'm aware of. Frankly, if I'm walking past a building site and the builders shout something at me, I don't take it in a bad way. I think they've taken the time out of their busy work schedule to notice me and shout
You
something about how I
appreciate it.
look that day. And I appreciate it because one day the black magic is going to dry up and I'm going to look back on those times and wish that more men had shouted at me from building sites. I'm going to wish for it.
You wish that you had more sexual harassment.
I wish for it because I tell you
Long
what,
for
I
those
don't find
days.
it oppressive. Whatever. Shout shit at me. I don't take it personally. Do what you
Well,
like, boys.
the whole deal here is a white woman was abducted and went missing in the UK, and everyone's freaking out about it. Whereas there's people of color that go missing all the time.
Exactly.
Who cares? But Sarah Everard was abducted and murdered on the streets of London, right off the streets of London by by a police officer. They found out
She was taken, and
allegedly.
whether or not he has killed more is up for debate. But I reckon he did the old serial killer trope, which is like a favorite of the Boston Strangler, and Ted Bundy used to do it, where you would flash your card and
Flash a
say,
fake badge.
hey, like, I need you to come down to the station with me. We've got something to discuss. We think you're a witness to something. And she got in his car. Like, you should never get in a stranger's car, even if they say the police. I'd be like, you come round to my house with a warrant, and then you can take me. But she was just too trusting, as usually murder victims are in
Yeah,
this
but
case.
was he using his authority though? Did he
I think
come
he
out with
probably will
a
have
badge
done.
and be like, "You need to get in my car. I'm taking you downtown" or
I
something?
think he will have done because 99.9% of anyone isn't getting in someone else's car when they just pull up and say, we need to come with us, baby. Are they? So I
Yeah, I
think
don't
he will
know. I
have
mean,
used his authority.
I think it would work in the UK. I don't think that would work over here.
It might,
Definitely not
but
in the
I don't
cities.
know, not in London. I don't think it would have worked. I think he probably will have abused his
Well,
power.
So Sarah Everard, 33-year-old, she left a friend's home in the Clapham neighborhood of London. Is the Clapham neighborhood of London a shithole?
Yes, it's a shithole.
So it's
Complete.
sketchy. Is it like Brixton?
Yeah, kind of the same level of like because parts of Brixton are fine, parts aren't.
So would you leave this neighborhood at 9 p.m. and walk a 50-minute walk back to your home? Or would you have taken a lift or something?
Can I also point out that we're supposed to be in a kind of lockdown at the minute, and we're not supposed to be going around to friends' houses. So
Yeah, but maybe she has a small.
she was already breaking the kind of like lockdown rules by going
Well,
around
maybe
to
it's a
friend's
small
house.
bubble. That's what we can do
Yeah,
here.
she
A
could
small bubble. You can be a bubble
can,
boy.
but they doubt it. But whatever, like, yeah, she's gone. She's been picked up.
So she was picked up by who they allege was a 48-year-old serving police officer named Wayne Cousins. This guy, Wayne Cousins, which I don't know if you guys do background checks over there in the UK for the Bobbies, but just like, I don't know, a couple months ago, he was arrested twice for indecent exposure in a McDonald's. He's a cop
Getting
pulling his
horny in a
dick out
McDonald's
in the McDonald's.
over the fries.
It's not the type of breakfast sausage I want to see.
Hey!
But yeah, like what the fuck? How's this guy? Listen to this guy. He was a mechanic at an auto repair business, and now he's like pulling his dick out at a McDonald's, and they're like, "Oh, you can be a Bobby now." Is there just no background check?
That's obviously how it is at the minute. I don't know the integral workings of the police over here, but clearly it has worked for him. Maybe
So
he
it's
lied.
kind of
You just don't know.
it's kind of become like a Me Too thing over there. So women are just infuriated by this abduction.
It's actually not the women who I've found to be more infuriated. It's been the men's. A lot of men's I know have been posting on their Instagram stories about things they can do to make women feel safer on the streets.
Like walk across the street rather than walk behind them. Like if they're
Yes. Yeah,
at
across
night.
the street, do stuff, you've got to educate the men's. This is what my men's I know have been posting that men need better education about how to respect women.
Do you think your men's male friends here are just trying to get laid
Some of them are
by
definitely
posting
virtue
this?
signaling. Yes,
You
some
think
of them are
so?
definitely white knighting. I also think it's hilarious because your odds of being murdered are so fucking low. So fucking low. I think you've got more chance of being struck by lightning. So what, are we gonna have a curfew on lightning every time that happens? Like
Well,
there's
I think
always gonna be
I think what they're trying to
murders.
do is curb the just the sexual harassment, which there seems to be quite a bit over there in the UK.
It's the land of slap and tickle, and some of us don't mind a bit of a slap and tickle, but I'm telling you, it's the generation below me. They're all
The
wild
Gen
about
Zs.
this. I'm blaming the Gen Z.
The Gen Zs over there.
My
So
job
anyway,
is
there these
millennial.
Gen Zs are like protesting. I'm sure there's a lot of millennial women protesting as well. And so there's a protest that was scheduled, but they shut it down. Like Take Back the Night protest, it was shut down because you're not allowed to gather right now because of COVID. So then there was another one that was like an illegal protest, and the cops came there, and just there's pictures of them like tackling women and holding them down,
There is, and
which
it's
which has
yeah,
caused even further outrage.
especially after International Women's Day has just taken part as well. But
Yeah, it
also,
doesn't look like they took the best care here in this situation.
no, yeah, it's illegal to go out. We've got to think at the minute COVID does come first. We can all fucking riot for better rights for women after that, can we not?
Well, I think they're trying to be timely with a vigil, you know.
Of course, you can be timely with it, but like, we should also be focused on fucking stopping the COVID so that we can have the bars back so more of us can get oppressed. That's what I want.
I just think women need to be armed. Just more guns in London.
Well,
This will solve the situation. Look how well it's worked out here.
yeah, I'm gonna go with you. All women in the UK should be given a gun. Not the men's, the women should all be given a gun. And if we feel that a man is oppressing us, it should be within our rights to just shoot him
Just to
dead.
shoot them.
Yeah, I want one of those cute, like, those pearl handles, tiny little revolvers that the
Like a little
Western
22
chicks,
or something.
yeah, that
Yeah.
they used to keep in their garters. I want one of them.
Well,
I'm
maybe
gonna
there could be like
request
a
it from you.
5-second rule. It's like you're harassing me. You got 5 seconds before I shoot you in the balls.
This is the future I want for all of the UK.
5-second rule for harassing men's.
Yes, from stop the men's harassing you, shoot you in the balls. I like it.
I mean, I don't know if that would have worked out over here. There's protests going on right here, like in the US as well. But I mean, the thing is with us, it's like abductions, murders, happens all the time. Mass shootings, I gotta say, the past year, due to COVID, definitely been like lowered number of mass shootings because no one's gathering anywhere. But the tide's changing on that. We're getting back into normalcy here. Mass shootings are making a comeback.
Good. I've
This
missed
past
them.
week, yeah, this past week there was the a mass shooting at these Atlanta area spas. 8 people were murdered. A gunman killed 6 Asian women and 2 others in attacks on these spas across metropolitan Atlanta area. And now there's protests in the U.S. about the surge in violence against people of Asian descent, which this past year there definitely has been an uptick in violence against Asians. I don't know if it has to do with like the racism due to coronavirus,
Of course it
previous
does.
administration, I'm sure.
Of course it
Um,
does.
but there
Yes.
definitely seems to be a surge in violence against people of Asian descent. So people are protesting that right now. But this week, this gunman who kind of, he's bringing back the mass shootings, got to get back on the horse there, sent shockwaves through the country, with this spree shooting that murdered 6 Asian women. So this guy here, his name is Robert Aaron Long. And I got to say, he's one of the lamest spree shooters I've ever seen.
Same. There is nothing redeemable about this man.
No, he's so lame. He's facing charges of 8 counts of murder and the death penalty if he's convicted. So what happened here? I guess. So this happened. All right. He went out, did a mass shooting, seemed to have targeted these massage parlors where these Asian women work. And so people have claimed that this is a hate crime. I think because they're tying it into this surge in violence against Asian people have been happening. Now, the question is it a hate crime? Is it not a hate crime? Is it just a mass shooting because this guy, is, remorseful for having a sexual addiction? And so they've been getting mixed messages from the authorities. They've been giving mixed messages to the media about what actually happened. My favorite is the captain here in Atlanta was criticized for saying the suspect just had a bad day. All right. He had a bad day, goes out and shoots some Asian hookers.
It's
all
what
right.
happens when you have a bad day. Sometimes I'll have a bad day and I'll lean on someone's neck until he dies. And that's my bad day.
And now they're saying that he's a sex addict. And so the shootings were not a hate crime. He just targeted different massage parlors where, he's received unhappy endings.
Very unhappy endings if you're going to go and start shooting them up.
I love this too, though. As they're talking about these massage parlors, authorities are like reluctant to say that they're involved in sex work. Like all the victims here, well, we can't really say for sure that they're involved in sex work. Okay, but these massage parlors are open 24 hours. What's happening over here? And all of these Atlanta spas where the shootings occurred were previously targeted by police in undercover sting operations.
Okay.
Where an officer paid for a massage and the employee offered a sex act. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious. But, now the media here is pushing back on the authorities, saying that this is like not, related to any kind of racial bias. And so they're calling for solidarity with Asian Americans. They're saying it's racially motivated violence, and that's why we're having all these protests. So what happened here? This is just this past Tuesday. Long, the gunman, was seen exiting Young's Asian massage parlor in Ackworth, Georgia. He then sat in his car for over an hour outside before entering the business and shooting to death 4 people inside. So 2 Asian women, a white woman, a white man. Apparently the white woman and the white man were there for a couples massage.
Do you think he had buyer's remorse after he came back out? And he was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go in and do it.
Possibly. And that's what I'm saying. I think he got an unhappy ending.
Yes, definitely.
But this guy doesn't seem like a very happy camper. So I'm
Sometimes it happens though. You get the kind of sex guilt, don't you? Sometimes after you've had like a particularly
I don't know who you're
round of shagging.
Rambo.
Sometimes you just feel a bit
who are you bringing home from the pub?
Men's with smegma. That's it.
When you wake up next to a ginger You're having the
Oh,
buyer's remorse. Like, what was it?
oh,
What was I drinking last night?
please don't remind me
I shagged a ginger.
of that time, that one and only time.
Do you immediately just start barfing?
Yeah, I feel sick to my stomach now remembering it.
But yeah, this white woman, this white man were there just getting like a couples massage.
As
I was
one
wondering how that
does.
works at like a late night massage parlor.
Do you think?
Does does the woman get a happy ending?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking, does the woman watch as she massages her husband's penis?
I don't know. Are you in separate rooms? I'm not quite sure how that
No, no,
works.
I think you're definitely in the room together,
I've had a couples massage before.
but not with an unhappy
Not
ending.
not a like one of these shady massage parlors.
Shady.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
went. No, I went. It wasn't like a 24-hour massage parlor in the
yeah.
suburbs of
You're a
Atlanta.
spa or somewhere.
Yeah, I was at a spa in like Napa Valley, and we had this couples massage.
Oh, very posh.
Um, but yeah, so the guy shot all these people, and they left. And there's a Hispanic man who was just like walking into the spa, you know, ready to get a hand job, and just shot right outside. He's in critical condition; he didn't die. And then Long got into his black SUV. He fled the scene, and then he headed over to the Gold Spa, and he shot 3 women there, and they shot another one at the aromatherapy spa. All 4 of these women were Asian. This guy definitely knew like which spas he
To
was going
go
to hit.
for. He should
Yeah,
have said that he shot them all because they're all none of them are trained masseuses, and aromatherapy is a fake science. So he should have gone down that route and said I was actually, cleaning the streets of fake doctors and fake masseuses.
possibly. I
Masseuse.
still think he was dissatisfied with the happy ending he got.
You
Maybe
should
she
be.
just wasn't. Yeah, maybe she just wasn't like as enthusiastic as she should have been.
I agree with that.
She
Yeah.
was just on Instagram the whole time, just wanking him off. Not sure.
Me.
So he's only 21 years old. You seen a picture of him? He looks Amish. He's got this like
He
neck
does look
beard going on.
Amish. He kind of
Yeah.
looks like he would also listen to Mudvayne. Even though nobody has listened to Mudvayne since the year 2002, this is this guy's favorite band.
I don't know. I'm thinking this guy listens to like Christian metal or Christian rock. He's like a
No, I
weirdo
think
Christian.
I know, no, but I think he's got a secret side to him, obviously, and I definitely think he listens to Mudvayne and Pantera.
You think he's a juggalo in his spare time?
I think no, obviously Juggalo is very sexually charged and he can't handle it, but I think that's what it's like.
So 3 hours after this shooting spree began, so he went and killed everybody, and they took off. State troopers and sheriff deputies trapped his vehicle on the highway, caused it to spin out of control,
Cool.
and then they took him to jail without incident. So now they're like trying to get information about his background, and apparently his parents just totally identify him to authorities. They're like, that's him. There he is, pervert.
Yeah.
Now, his parents and a former roommate described him as having a sexual compulsion, and he was a sex addict. And he was being treated at an evangelical Christian center called Hope Quest. That
That's not going to
treats.
treat him of anything. Can they? What are they going to do? Slam the Bible on his dick until he doesn't want
Well,
to wank anymore?
I wouldn't be surprised. They treat sex addiction, pornography addiction, and they provide ex-gay therapy services, which
They are
that
not.
works really well.
They are not providing anyone with jack fucking shit.
He had a roommate here, Tyler Bayless, who shared a room with him at this sober living facility. He described the accused killer as a man torn between an obsession with sex and his conservative faith that considers sex outside of heterosexual marriage to be immoral. He said, quote, he's the type of guy who would hate himself for masturbating. He would consider that a relapse. So, so this dude had frequented spas for sex. Like he's definitely, I would say, when you're going to spas for sex, like Tinder's not enough, Pornhub's not enough, you definitely have a compulsion there. I think that's definitely sex addict behavior.
Of
And so,
course.
because he had been frequenting these spas, it ruined his relationship that he had. He was dating a woman in Tennessee, but she found out about the spas and she's like, I'm done. And similarly, his parents then kicked him out of the house for watching porn and patronizing the spas.
Oh my word.
There's a bit of a grudge here going on here.
Sounds
The
like
next
it.
day, after his parents booted him, he went and got a 9mm handgun and set about on a killing spree.
Right. There you
So,
go. That's the real cause of it.
well,
Immaturity,
so
isn't
that's the
it?
thing. I mean, is it? He didn't go after all hookers. He didn't go kill just random strippers. He targeted specifically these Asian massage parlors.
That he would have been frequenting. He'll know
And
these
not all the
women.
victims were Asian, though.
No.
But the shooting is coming at a time for, this ongoing alarm here over violence towards Asians. So, it might be a hate crime. But it is. I mean, this past year, over 4,000 incidents specifically targeted Asians, and Asian women were more likely to be targeted than Asian men.
It's
So, I mean,
obvious to see
there's definitely an
why.
issue there. Well,
Of
yeah,
course.
more vulnerable, but I gotta say, this dude is a poor excuse for a spree killer. Label me not impressed. I saw
Same.
it. And
Yeah.
well, I was reading it. I was just like, what a lame ass, like self-hating Christian dork with a porn addiction kills innocent women who are essential workers doing a thankless job to keep society functioning. Think about it. Without these women tirelessly every night giving hand jobs, think about how many other like sexually frustrated Bible
Killers.
thumpers would have taken up arms, you
Exactly. There'd
know?
been a lot more serial killers on the street. These
Well,
women
because
deserve better.
yeah, a lot of these people, it's like no one's going out, no one's leaving their house during a pandemic. But these women are like essential workers providing a service for society,
They are. And I agree.
releasing a lot of tension, literally. This guy's a feckless cocksuck, like cock blocking dork, is
He
what he
is.
is,
He is.
nowhere near as cool as the OG spree killer we're about to discuss.
Oh yeah, bad boy Billy Cook.
Yeah, no, this guy, Billy Cook, I would think could be considered America's first spree killer.
I consider him America's first spree killer of the type that we know today. I think Billy was definitely the first.
Yeah, I don't think this would really happen. Not to mention, this is in like the early 1950s. There was like a nationwide manhunt. He was like, the nemesis of the media.
He was.
You know,
He's
is the
cool.
boogeyman. But yeah, he definitely, is a cool sociopath, tattooed knuckles. Kind of reminds me a bit of like Robert Mitchum's character in Cape Fear, like that kind of type
Yeah.
of sociopath. And he's Kate's favorite serial killer.
Yes,
Well,
this is my
murderer.
favorite serial killers. And also one of my favorite film noirs, which is also the only film noir directed by a hardworking dame who was called Ida Lupino, is a 1953 killer called The Hitchhiker. You ever seen it?
I've seen parts of that. I've never actually watched the whole thing. Is it good?
It's good. It's on YouTube for anyone who wants to
Oh,
see
I
it.
should check that out.
It stars William Talman, who would go on to portray the DA in the TV series Perry Mason, which was not a thing over here, but I'm aware of its popular culture icon status. But in The Hitchhiker, he is playing a psychotic, frightening psychopath by the name of Emmett Myers, and he is hell bent for death and destruction. The character's MO, he's basically killing luckless drivers who offer him a lift. He's stealing their automobiles, and he earned him the name the Hitchhiker Slayer in the film. So
Did you ever see they made another Hitchhiker movie
they did
in
with
like
Rutger
the
Hauer.
mid-aughts? Yeah. Was it? No, wait, they made one with
There is
Rutger
another
Hauer.
one called The Hitchhiker with Rutger Hauer. I don't know about the other Hitchhiker movie. Is that based on Billy as well? Because this is based on Billy.
No, this is like the guy is like a demented hitchhiker that terrorizes four women traveling to Las Vegas. But the one with Rutger Hauer, though, what year did that come
The
out?
Hitcher. That is, I think that's
The
from the
Hitcher.
70s.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great movie too. I like that one.
So this is like definitely one of the first films that was a kind of biopic of a serial killer because they were not common at all back then. The Hitchhiker is like one of the first in the genre, really, because like it started with Fritz Lang's classic M, A City Searches for a
movie,
Murderer in 1931. Yeah, that's like the first ever kind of film about a serial killer. And Ida Lupino, this director of The Hitchhiker, she even went out and she interviewed survivors from the case that she based the movie on. So The Hitchhiker is based on a killer that had been dubbed as America's last desperado. It was a man who had pledged to live by the gun and roam. And it was a kid by the name of Billy Cook who blazed a trail of death and terror across 14 states.
Let me show a picture here. Just sharing the screen. So here's the movie poster for The Hitchhiker. Ida Lupino. Who will be his next victim? You?
She's a dame. I love Ida Lupino. She's a fantastic actress in her own right as well. She had a really crazy long career.
Here's a scene from it. There he is,
There
the
he is,
hitchhiker.
the hitchhiker
Yep.
with in the back.
There he is. There's Billy Cook.
So the
You know,
nation's sorry, what were you
real
gonna say
quick,
about
he kind of
Billy?
looks like Justin Timberlake's like older, slightly retarded brother, doesn't he? A little bit in
He
this
looks
one.
like Ryan Felipe. He's good looking.
Oh yeah, he does kind of.
He does look like Ryan Felipe. I think he's very good looking. This is a bad picture. This is when he's young here. He's 17.
He's only 17.
So the nation's greatest manhunt, it began on the morning of January the 3rd, 1951, with the routine investigation of an abandoned car mired in the mud near Tulsa, Oklahoma. A quick glance into the interior of the car revealed evidence of one of the most shocking crimes in US history, the brutal and senseless slaying of a whole family. In the 12 days that followed, 2,000 peace officers trailed a gun crazy mad dog terrorist through 14 states and into Mexico, uncovering in his wake 6 murders and as many kidnappings. But I'm getting a bit of my head of myself.
Yeah, but that's the
bit far
thing,
off.
though. Well, you're foreshadowing, but
I'm
that's the thing.
foreshadowing,
Like,
darling.
how many events of this type even occurred at that time? Like a nationwide manhunt for
This
a,
wouldn't
a,
even
a murderer of like of a mass killing of a family.
this would
I
not
don't
even
think it
occur
even happened
now.
at that time.
And it wouldn't even occur now. I doubt
Well,
it would get to the lengths they went to go and catch Billy. I don't think would happen nowadays.
I think they would have caught him a lot faster nowadays.
They might have.
Yeah,
But
typically.
so Billy Cook, he was born and named William Edward Cook Jr. on December 23rd, 1928, in a shithole shack in absolute abject poverty in Joplin, Missouri. He'd be one of seven children that the family couldn't afford to feed or clothe. So 2 days before Christmas, in 1934, when Billy was an undernourished 5-year-old, he also had teeth that were so badly decayed because he would only eat one thing. So he had no teeth, and he's like malnourished.
What did he only eat? Like treacle, ribbon
Biscuits,
candy,
American
biscuits. That's it.
which I
Okay,
still like. They're kind of like a roll and a scone, aren't they?
I guess
Like
sort of.
in
I'm
Britain, because
sure.
we don't have biscuits, so like a weird thing. I know you can have them with gravy and shit like that, but that's all this boy would eat. So his mother, who Billy was close to, she unexpectedly died. She'd complained of a headache that day. She'd gone for a nap and she never woke up. Billy would be the one who discovered that his mother wasn't waking up because he went in the room a little over an hour after she died. The other siblings were scared. They wouldn't even go in the room. They wouldn't approach their dead mother. But Billy stood by her side. He memorized the icy blue veins under her skin, and he was staring with his one good eye into her lifeless eyes until his father came and shooed him away after a day and a half.
God, this is like Bambi.
It is like Bambi.
It's terrible.
So I mentioned that Billy had a bad eye. So he'd been born with a defective right eye, which was like no doubt the result of this family's fine lineage. He would go through the torment of surgery several times throughout his childhood to correct it, but nothing ever worked. So the
God, could you
lid
imagine surgery in like the 1930s to
on
do
your
this?
eyes.
Yeah.
So how his eye was bad was the lid sat nearly halfway across his eyeball, and he was unable to close it completely. He didn't have any control. So he was blind in his right eye, although this wouldn't handicap his skills with a firearm later on.
But did it look like his eye was just open all the time? Like it was,
Permanently
he just,
open.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. But it was a dead eye. Like
A
he was
dead
blind in
eye.
that eye.
But
Yeah.
we'll get into like what kind of how this affected him later on. But he learned very early on as well that his eye was repulsive to people. And he spent his childhood being known as cockeyed Cook because of
God.
this obvious deformity.
This kid has like the background that's just guaranteed to produce a sociopath, you know?
Of course.
He finds his mother's corpse that he's alone with for a while. He's got like a defective eye. He's being teased for it. And he's poor.
So it gets worse. So Billy's father, who he's named after, was a man called William Sr. He was a short and skinny man, and to put it bluntly, he couldn't fucking cope at all. He was never going to win Father of the Year. So he had been a sharecropper from Weather Falls out in Oklahoma. And since the end of the First World War, he found himself in Missouri, and he had worked the mines around Joplin for like meager pay for the long hours of toil. So he'd
God, he's
returned
probably
home.
a drunk.
Yeah, he was drunk. He had
That
returned
would have been.
home after a day and a half because he would often just disappear for like 3, 4 days. He discovered his wife has died. So this is this man's thinking. Here's my dead wife. Here are my children. So he rounded up his children and he said, "We're gonna go on a picnic. Mama's gonna stay here. She's not gonna go on no picnic." And he started gathering up odds and ends for this picnic. So he took some blankets, a box of cornflakes, a flashlight, a jar of jam, some crackers, and toilet paper. The oldest girl picked up the youngest baby, and they all climbed into the family automobile, ready for this picnic on the day their mother had died. So he drove them out to a deserted lead mine. He ordered them all out, and with the flashlight, he made them follow him into the open cavern. And he said, "All of you, get out of here now. You go play in the mine. You can all have a good time here. You stay here, and
This
I'll
is your
come
new
back.
house.
I'll come back with some cake for you all." Billy, who at this point was eating nothing but biscuits, he didn't want cake. So he followed his father back to the car. His father stared at him and he made Billy walk back to be with his brothers and sisters.
I think Billy Jr. here was onto his father's plan.
Oh, I think he was. So,
Did the
one of
father have like a hot stripper in the front seat?
he wishes. I don't think he's the type to get hot strippers.
No.
Wonderful William took the flashlight, he got back in the car, and he drove off as twilight descended on the abandoned mine.
And
The
just
girl,
ditched his
he
kids
ditched his
in
kids,
the
man.
mine shaft. Where
The
wait,
girl-
did he bury the mom at least? His wife?
Oh, you'll find out what happened to the
Oh,
mom in
okay.
a bit.
All right.
So
I don't know if
naturally,
there's like a weekend at Bernie's thing going on here.
the kids and the kids and the baby, they're crying all night. The boys gave the blanket to the girls to keep warm, so they shivered all night. And by sunrise, because the kids don't understand the concept of rationing, they'd eaten nearly all the food, and 3 of the children were outside playing in the lead dust, just like they'd been abandoned.
Just waiting for dad to come back with cake.
2 days later, they waited for their father. But on the third day, he finally returned. So here was William Sr. again, and he had another box of him. But there wasn't cake inside this box. Inside, there was some bread, a can of spam, and some milk for the baby. The children reportedly clung to his legs, and he shook them off, saying he would go back to town and he would get them cake, and he would be back very, very soon. But surprise, surprise, he never came back, did he?
So this time he split for good.
He split for good, and the starving children, they were discovered 2 days later.
Did they have beds in this mine shaft and they just sleep on the ground?
No, it's just they're sleeping on the ground. They've been abandoned inside of a mine shaft. There's
It's like the
nothing in
worst
there.
father ever.
Fucking father of the year, odd man.
Yeah.
So the kids are discovered, and by the end of the day of their discovery, they were all put into the child welfare system. The dad had skipped town, never to be seen, and his wife's corpse was found rotting in their shared bed of their shithole shack.
Wow. So he just left her behind.
He just left her behind. All the children, they were separated. They were all put up for adoption. So Cecilia, who was the sister closest to Billy, she's older than him, she begged for Billy to come with her, but no adult wanted to adopt the ugly boy. And he was ugly. He had bad teeth and a bad eye. He was left behind to spend a childhood in the foster care system.
Didn't he have a bad personality as well? Like
That
he was
was-
rebellious and
That's
aggressive.
That's going to grow the longer
Yeah.
he spends in the system. So this was like the first couple of months of him being in the system, they gave him his first operation on his eye. And Billy used to shake when he would describe it because he says that they had to strap him down just to put the ether mask over his mouth and nose. He's like 6, and they had to strap this boy down to do this to him.
Wow. It's kind of Antichrist.
This is my kind of guy.
Well,
Billy-
Damien.
He was wary of strangers and he didn't make new friends very well, if he even could be bothered. From his foster care reports, stated at the time that he had a mistrustful stare and he was filled with sullenness. He is resentful, withdrawn, and troublesome. Well,
Yeah,
no
he's got a
fucking
deformed
shit.
eye. How
Yeah, he's
trustful is
been-
that stare?
Fucking abandoned by his shit dad out in a mine. That's gonna fuck up any kid. He also wouldn't eat. Like I said before, all he wanted was biscuits. Feeding time was a constant source of agitation for the boy. He would throw tantrums. He would scream until he vomited, and his face would turn red, and his knuckles would turn white from his clenched fists. And this is a quote from the same foster care report. And they stated that Cook will not follow orders, and he displays a pugilistic attitude when corrected. For a 6-year-old
No one would
boy.
adopt him. Go figure.
No figure. One foster family who did have to look after Billy said, He refuses to play games or join in with the other children. He is uncooperative and he will not talk except to say that he wants a bicycle. We have not bought him a bicycle because, frankly, we feel that he does not like us. He goes off by himself or he plays games by himself and he does not speak to us. He is the most unfriendly child we've ever brought into our home. We do not want him.
He just tortures the family animals.
Poor Billy. No, there's no evidence that he tortured family animals, Dee. Take that out of your mouth. Don't you accuse bad boy Billy.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's what I'm saying.
So around the age of 10, this is Christmas time. This is like a dozen foster homes later. Billy was sleeping on a mattress in a small room built behind a garage, owned by an elderly woman who was receiving big bucks for housing the boy from the county court because they couldn't place him anywhere. So this is the saddest Christmas story ever. She bought Billy the bicycle that Billy had always wanted. But days later, the bike was repossessed because his new foster mother wanted to keep the county court allotments for herself rather than pay the installments on the bike. Poor Billy, man. He couldn't even get a bike.
Greedy witch. Yeah, I know. Didn't even get to give the kid a bike.
It's all he wants.
This kid.
And then around this same time, another operation was attempted to fix his eye, and it didn't work. The lid would still not close, and the eye remained open. Some described the eye as intimidating, but the slack-jawed yokels of Joplin whispered that the boy possessed an evil eye, which is what I'm going to go with. Wouldn't that be so cool to be like, this is the evil eye, and this is my good eye?
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get an eye patch.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually. He would look cool with an eye patch. I think.
Yeah, I mean, everybody looks cooler with an eye patch.
Yeah. So by the age of 12, Billy was now genuinely defiant, and a short life of hard luck and misfortune. That's all he'd incurred. No foster parent would take in the uncontrollable and difficult to manage child.
Yeah, I'd pass on that one.
Yeah, his attendance at school was sporadic. And when he did attend, he was often in trouble, or he would simply walk out and walk the streets of Joplin and partake in petty crime.
Was he illiterate?
No, he's actually a very intelligent boy. We'll get into like his kind of intelligent later on. He was declared truant and he had to face the juvenile court system. So during this hearing, a teacher stated that Billy was highly intelligent, but he held a grudge against the world, which is like, no shit, Sherlock. Wouldn't fucking you? When asked by the judge.
He definitely got a bit of a raw deal.
He did get a raw deal. That's a good film. It's a good picture. When asked by the judge if he would rather be sent back to another foster family or if he'd be sent to a reform school. Reform schools, like at the time, were kind of like hard-boiled, merciless mini jails for children, kind of like a Borstal that we had over here. Billy stated in a toneless voice that he would rather go to trade school than any more foster homes. And the trade school Billy was sent to was the state training school for boys at Boonville, Missouri. And when his older sister Cecilia heard this news that he was being sent to a reformatory, she cried herself to sleep.
Well, I mean, aren't there like a lot of violence there, corporal punishments?
Yes, all of
boy rape. I mean, it's not a great environment.
If you've ever seen the film Scum, then you know what goes on at a reformatory school with Ray Winston. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think I've ever seen that. I like Ray Winston though.
You'll like Scum then if you really like Ray Winston.
Yeah, is it just like an hour and a half of just boy rape?
There is some boy rape that occurs. Yeah. A great soundtrack though.
No wonder you're into that movie.
So when he was at Boonville, there was another kid there called Robert Drago. Drago. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, it's like Drago from Rocky.
Yep.
And he remembers Billy's arrival in July of 1941. He said he was just a troubled kid. He came in like he'd been given a ticket for summer camp. He didn't talk to or badmouth those in charge the way others did, and he pretty much kept to himself. He was neat. He took great care of his stuff, keeping it ordered like we were supposed to. There were one or two other kids that didn't gripe because they hated what was on the outside more than anything in Boonville, and that's what it was like with Billy. He had an older sister, Cecilia, and she had gotten married. She came to see him, and she said she was going to get custody of him, and he'd be able to come and live with her and her husband in Joplin. I said, hey, that's great. But Billy didn't want to go. I thought he was crazy. It was his chance to get out and live with regular people. And I said, if you don't, you'll be stuck here until you're 18. And
why didn't he get sprung by his sister?
He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave because
he's into the boy rape.
he's into like the routine. He was settling in. He enjoyed it. He felt safe in Boonville. He didn't feel safe anywhere else. You know, he was studious and quiet. He spent the majority of his time reading or doing the chores. Why would he want to leave this kind of
Do you,
safe space
do you
to
think
go
he
on
was a
back into
power
the
bottom?
outside? Yes. He looks the type, doesn't he? Those big kissy lips, he would be the power bottom. So Cecilia said that Billy had told her he didn't want to go back out because he said he'd rather be back where he didn't have to do anything on his own. Most of us had no easy time. We had to go on, had to make a life, but Billy acted like he had a bone to pick with everyone. He
God,
wasn't
talk
much
about
different.
grudge.
Yeah, he wasn't much different when he was little, she said, and before our mama died. Nothing had ever been funny to him. He didn't have humor about himself, and when he came to stay with us, he was like a stranger, and I didn't know him. So
Yeah, it looks like he looks like he's been institutionalized. Just
yeah,
became
this
a full sociopath at this point.
definitely some trauma. Can't find the hilarity in any situation. Even Gacy could have a giggle.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't have better therapy back then.
Yeah, in the 1950s.
Yeah.
But he didn't have to enjoy life on the outside for very long. At the age of 14, he took up a stolen blackjack knife, which is a pretty cool knife. I had to Google it. And he robbed a Joplin cab driver. And this was going to be the start of his pattern of revenge.
A blackjack isn't a knife, though. Isn't blackjack
it
like
not?
a club? Yeah, it's like a
Oh,
club
maybe.
that
I
you
saw
club
one that was
somebody
like,
with.
it kind of looked like a butterfly knife as well.
Oh,
I'll look it up again. So this is how it kind of started. He got into the cab. He sat behind the driver. He held the knife or the club to the driver's throat, and he ordered him to drive out of town. Once he felt that they had driven far enough, he made the cabbie remove his pants, take your mind out the gutter, D, so that he could take the cabbie's wallet and the $11 that was inside it. And he said the reason he took the man's pants is so that he wouldn't run away. He's not going to get out the cab and run out like the side of the
Sure.
road without pants
All
on.
power bottoms say that.
Yeah. Wow. How would you
He
know?
took his pants away so he
How
wouldn't
would
run.
you know? The cabbie just did it as he said, and then Billy was like, "I want you to drive me back to downtown Joplin," and he got out of there. The cabbie obviously is not going to forget this boy's face. He's got a weird, fucked up eye, and he's good.
Yeah.
And he's a power bottom. And as fate would have it, because you know, Billy wasn't a criminal mastermind at this point. He was only 14. The
I don't know
next
if he
day,
ever would be a mastermind, but this is definitely his MO.
this
though.
is how it starts.
Yeah.
So the next day he was entering a movie theater, and who was across the way? Who was across the street? It's only the bloody pantsless cabbie.
Oh,
And
he
he's
still
not-
wasn't wearing any pants at the movie theater?
No, I think he's probably put his pants
Oh,
on
he
at
did
that
have
point now.
pants on at that point. All right.
So he was sat in his cab and he saw Billy going into this movie theater. So he got out of his cab and he followed him into the theater and he told the
Wait a
ushers to
second.
call.
What kind of theater was this?
This is a movie theater. D, take your mind out the gutter. This is the 50s.
All right. I don't know. I'm
Right?
putting two and two together here.
Billy was sat on the front row. He was about to enjoy the picture. He was kicking it back when three cheese curd eating cops jumped him and they sent him straight back to Boonville.
Straight back to the reformatory.
Straight back to the boys' home. Richard Drago was there. He was not surprised to see Billy come back. And he said that Billy had told him, he said, 3 cops grabbed him or else he'd have busted away. Other guys at Boonville didn't trust Billy. He was short, but like a dog that doesn't give a crap about how big some other dog is. So Billy's starting to get balls now. He's starting to get way more defiant.
Sounds like it.
And the next 18 months he was in Boonville before he kind of declared that he was ready for a Boston breakout. And that's exactly what he did. But he didn't go the way that Billy had pictured at all. He stole the car, he got caught, and he was booked for 5 years at the Angoa Intermediate Reformatory, which is like literally one step below a prison at this age. And it's where he received regular beatings, regular torment. He was in fights with like everyone else because of his attitude, which is natural. It's understandable.
Well, I mean, he definitely seems like he has a bit of a personality
Of course.
disorder, but wasn't he kind of a troublemaker? Like I had read that he tried to escape from the reformatory a few times, like from jail.
Did. Yeah, there was a smuggled hacksaw blade, and he cut through the bars, but he was
It's so
caught.
classic. Like, was it
Caught,
smuggled in a
sent back.
cake?
Yeah, I have always wondered if that was a real thing. I've always wanted to do it.
It's like,
I mean, it would be a great birthday cake idea for someone if you ever did like, a mobs and mobsters theme party. I'm on it. So that was after this had happened, his counselor at Angoa stated that Cook is 18 years old and he has been caught with razor blades in his possession with illegal pills and knives. He thinks criminal thoughts. He shows no interest in learning a trade or a skill, and he seems like a walking time bomb. Billy left the reformatory with the words "hard luck" tattooed across the knuckles on his left hand.
I got a
Cool
picture of that here. Yeah,
of
check
this
this out. A couple
iconic-
cool pictures.
This iconic
This
tattoo.
iconic tattoo here. So here's one. You can kind of see it. Like this is like an artistic,
Yes, it
picture
is.
here. Yeah, this is like an artistic version. But I think here's like a more accurate version here.
Yeah, that one's been inked over, but it's cool. That's clearly when he's been arrested. If you see the hand.
So he had I like it. It's like on his knuckles, and then it's like luck on the like how many? That's the
Very
thing.
old school.
At this time, yeah, it's very old school. How many people had hard luck tattooed on their hand? He's kind of rockabilly in a sense.
Yeah, he's cool, man.
Yeah, definitely way cooler than the guy that shot up the Asian massage parlor.
So Billy's 18 now. He's been released, and he started stalking the streets of Southwest Missouri. But who's he going to bump into? He's going to bump into long lost daddy of the year, William Sr., isn't he? He's going to find his father in Southwest
Dad's.
Missouri.
How did he find his? How the hell did he find his dad?
Just from like bopping about, he found him. William Sr. is now 70 years old. He had stooped shoulders from years of crouching over in the mines. He smoked like a chimney. His lungs were, I probably imagine, as black as your soul. And Billy found him living in a one-bedroom mining shack. William Sr. actually didn't know how to react that his son has found him. He wondered why
I would
Billy
be
had even
shocked.
come. Yeah. So he asked his son, he said, "What are you going to do now that they've cut you loose?" And Billy looked at the old man with his one good eye, and he said, "I'm going to live by the gun, and I'm going to roam.
I thought he was going to say, "I want you to take your pants off."
I'm a power bottom daddy. You can call me daddy now."
So wait. But this is kind of a famous quote, though.
It is. I'm going to live by the gun and roam. Which is exactly
roam.
what he did. He's such like an outlaw, isn't he? That's one of the reasons I like him. So
Yeah, I mean, he's like a classic outlaw.
I want you to imagine that it's early morning on an empty Texas highway. And there's a mining equipment salesman and mechanic, 56-year-old Lee Archer. He was driving from Tahoka, heading north for Lubbock, just past Woodrow. And he spotted a young, wavy-haired teen hitchhiking, and he stopped to pick him up. He was saying to the teen that he was going north, and the leather-jacketed youth climbed in. He had a small overnight bag with him. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to Joplin." And he sunk down in the seat next to him and he kicked back like he'd not slept in days. But Lee Archer, the driver, he kind of realized that he wasn't sleeping at all. And every so often, his passenger would turn a little and look in the back seat, like kind of glancing what was in the car. It was giving the driver a funny feeling. So over 100 miles later, they were on a very barren stretch of road. They approached a gas station, and Archer suggested that to this very quiet man and very suspicious hitchhiker that they should stop and like fuel up, and he'll buy him some lunch if he's got no money. So that's what they did. And the whole time they were there in the diner eating, Lee was just trying to think of ways to ditch this weirdo, but he couldn't ever seem to like evade this man's attention. Like he thought that his deformed eye was following him no matter where he went.
Why don't you just go to the bathroom and just sneak out?
Well, I think because it would have been a very small diner, I don't think he would have had the opportunity.
The evil
Otherwise,
eye
he
would have been watching
would've.
him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is a cautionary tale too. Like I know back then in the 50s, you could probably pick up a hitchhiker, but you shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be picking up hitchhikers. Do people still hitchhike in Europe? Isn't it a thing you guys do there?
People still do it, but you just shouldn't. It's just never get into a stranger's car. Like it's just a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, here it's like everybody now I think is wise enough to know, like, yeah, that's how
Don't
serial
do
killers
it.
pick up their victims. It's by hitchhiking. I mean, they used to in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Definitely stopped doing it by the 80s and 90s, and now they don't really do it. But I was working with a girl at my old job who's Romanian, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we hitchhike all over Eastern Europe."
I imagine, yeah, maybe you could, but if I'm an Eastern European hot girl from Romania, I'd also be scared to.
Yeah, I'd be thinking hostile type scenario.
Of course. Well,
But this dude, he's like even buying the hitchhiker lunch. Like he's going
Yeah,
way above and beyond.
to try and pacify him. So
Well,
they
yeah.
did both get back into the car, and it wasn't much long after, about half an hour when they're outside of Oklahoma City. Bad boy Billy pulled out his automatic pistol. He pointed it right in the driver's stomach, and he said, "Just go back to the highway and turn on 66." So he kept.
What a rude
How
fucker. This guy just
rude!
bought him lunch,
I
giving him a
know.
ride, and now he's got his gun in his stomach.
So he was like nudging the muzzle of the gun into the side of Lee Archer, and he suggested which turns to take. And eventually they pulled off the dirt road and they stopped. The engine was stopped, and Billy with the gun, he demanded the key. He also demanded all the money from the driver, which Lee Archer gave him. But his sweat turned cold as he was instructed to get out the car. But he did so because you fucking would when somebody's holding a
He's got a
pistol at
gun.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a quote from Lee Archer. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess about getting killed and laying dead in a ditch on the side of the road. I thought about everything important to me, but the thought that kept flashing to me was that I was going to die. My life was going to end, and I should have run out of that cafe back in Texas and left the no good son of a bitch where he was. And what happened next was like a kind of crazy bad dream, and it is like something out of a film because Billy made him get in the trunk of the car, also called the boot in the UK. We call it the boot. And suddenly, the gun-toting renegade was at the wheel. He was driving really fast and recklessly, and Lee knew that he had to get out, or he was going to suffocate, or he was going to be shot. So Billy hadn't checked through the trunk very well because he had a tire iron, and the Archer was like using that against the
Just
lock.
pried it open to pop open the trunk.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. He popped the trunk and he waited for the car to slow down a little, and when it did, he just like dive bombed out. And
I was reading that the car was actually manual at a manual transmission,
oh,
and
that's
Billy
weird.
wasn't good at driving a manual transmission car, so it kept stalling. So he
Oh.
probably had an opportunity just to jump out when the car stalled and just take off.
Yeah. And so when he had dive bombed out of this car, he lay in the road, he waited a few seconds, and then when the car started speeding up again, he got up and he ran like he was Forrest Gump in the jungle. He just did not stop running. He ran past loads of fields. He went past an old barn. He went through another field until he thought he would drop dead of a heart attack, which that's like me when I run at the end. I just think I'm going to die of a heart attack.
Well, the adrenaline there, though.
Yeah, I only run from the police. I don't run from anyone else. He heard an engine roar and he thought like the youth had found him again, but it was just like an old truck driving down an old road. So he ran towards this hick, you know, waving his arms and begging for help. So this is the kind of start of the nightmare for Billy. He drove on. He was aware his prisoner had escaped. He was realizing that the Buick he had stolen was a piece of shit on wheels because he couldn't drive it. And the car kind of rattled dead on Route 66 near Claremont, Oklahoma. Claremont. Luckily for him, there was actually a car headed in his direction. So he made out like he was signaling for help. And the 1949 blue Chevrolet sedan slowed down. The driver rolled down the window and he asked, "What's the trouble?" And Billy glanced towards his stolen heap of junk and said that the engine was shot. Can he get a lift?
See, there you go. Once again, picking up hitchhikers, helping stranded motorists. It's like, you don't do that. You don't help people.
You do not help them.
No, you don't. You keep driving. Go to your destination.
So the driver of this car was a father of three and a married man by the name of Carl Moser. And he was like, "Sure, come on in." Inside the vehicle were his three kids in the back seat. He had 7-year-old Ronald, 5-year-old Gary, and Pamela, who was 3. Next to 33-year-old Carl sat his 29-year-old wife, Thelma. Okay, so the stage is now set. All the characters
There they are. There's Carl. There's Thelma. Pamela. There's Ronnie. There's little Gary. You know, there's the whole monster family. Yeah, this is like a good 1950s family. You know?
And I mean, they were just on their way to Albuquerque, New Mexico to spend the Christmas holidays with Carl's twin brother. So only Billy would be alive to tell the sordid tale. But he said that within moments of climbing into the car, he stuck the gun in between the ribs of Thelma Moser and he ordered her hapless husband to keep on driving. And they would be driving for 72 savage hours. 3 days.
Just so terrible because he's got like 3 kids. They got the family dog in the car.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention the dog's
yeah, the little white dog. So the whole family going to spend Christmas holidays with his twin brother. And here they are with this deranged, you know, power
Power
bottom with a
bottom.
fucked up eye. He's got a gun, in their ribs, and he's like telling them to drive around. And so now they're like, all right, I
So
guess what we're gonna do.
yeah, he kept Moser driving all the way to Oklahoma City. The three kids in the back, Oklahoma City. And by the time they got there, they were all complaining and crying of hunger. They needed the toilet. Thelma, she was white pale and said she was travel sick. Although I doubt the gun at her side wouldn't have helped the situation. And Carl said to the cockeyed teen, my brother in Albuquerque, he's going to be worried as hell with us not showing up. He'll have the highway patrol out looking for us. And Billy responded back with the warning, shut up. Shut up. I love it.
Billy doesn't heed warnings like that.
Billy doesn't need warnings like that. And then this was close to Wichita Falls. The gas in the sedan was running really low. And when they reached there, they went to a little gas station that had a small grocery store attached. So the attendant started filling up the car. Billy and Carl walked real slowly now, you hear, into the store. And like, what are you going to do? You're going to try and escape, aren't you?
Well, part of the problem is back then, everyone's so nice to each other because it's the 1950s that even if you're trying to like signal that there's something going on, they probably wouldn't even, they'd be like, oh, we're playing charades. Like they wouldn't pick up on it.
You're about to hear how nice people in the 1950s were. Because like this could have totally gone a different way for Billy. Billy could have ended up doing a different stretch for like 15 years for kidnapping. Because Carl is obviously desperate to get away from this man. So what he did was he took Billy's arms, he bent it behind the arm that held the gun, he bent it behind his back, and he was screaming at the cashier that he needed help. Help me, he's got a gun, he's kidnapped me, he's got my whole family in the car. But this is America, Carl, baby. This is America.
The dad here, he turned the tables. He grabbed Billy.
Yeah.
How big, how physically imposing was Billy? Was he like a 5'6"?
5'6".
5'6". So he's a little guy. He's like my height.
Guy. But he's like it's like that quote where he said he's like a dog that doesn't give a shit about the size of the other dog. He's got that kind of attitude.
Yeah, he's got this like
attitude.
Kind of Napoleon complex. So this dude grabs him, pulls his arm back, and is shouting to the attendant to help him out.
Yeah, to the cashier. But yeah, like I was saying, this is America, baby. And what are you going to do if you're in America? So this old man, this cashier, he actually thought that the struggle was just a scuffle. So he pulled out his trusty long-barreled single action from underneath the counter, pointed at the two men, and he ordered them politely yet firmly to leave.
What? America. He kicked him out of the store. Yet meanwhile, this guy's, probably yelling like, hey, he's kidnapped my family.
Yeah. So
God, this store owner's an idiot.
He is an idiot, and it could have all changed with that.
Yeah.
At this exact same time, in another part of the country, Lee Archer was meeting with the deputy sheriffs to tell his side of the story. The law had discovered his abandoned car, and inside they found the small overnight bag, and in it was the checkered shirt, 2 white T-shirts, some brown shoe wax, a picture of 3 unhappy children, which had been stamped Kirksville, Maryland, a box of 36 bullets from an automatic, a receipt for the purchase of a 32 pistol from the El Paso gun store.
Wait. This is Billy's overnight bag.
They found an Archer's car. Yeah, they found it.
Oh, he left the bag behind?
He left the bag because he was in such a rush to get into this other car, wasn't he? So using newspaper...
He's not a criminal mastermind.
He's not. He's an opportunist, which most spree killers are. So he was using like newspaper wire photo machines from the time. Officials soon had pictures, and they had the Missouri Penitentiary records of Cook, and it said he was 5 feet 6 inches tall, 145 pounds, tattooed, with a right eye that never closed. And as of December 29th, the case was one of still just highway robbery. It was still just some punk stealing a car.
But he's a little guy.
He was a little guy. I like him.
Yeah.
I like his moxie. The nightmare for the Moses was still underway, though. They were stopping occasionally for gas and food, and the car zigzagged through Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma.
How many days did he, abduct the Mosers? Like how long? Like how many days? 3 days. They drove around in the car with the kids, the
More than
wife.
2,500 miles they traveled.
Where was Billy sitting? Was he between the like in the front seat between the husband and the wife, or was he in the back seat
Yes.
with the kids?
No, he was in the front seat in between the husband and the wife. Occasionally he would switch places with Thelma,
So he was
so
in
he
the
could
back
have the
seat
gun at
middle,
her side. He was in the front seat middle.
or front seat middle.
Yeah,
Wow.
with
Okay.
this family.
God, riding on the hump. God, that's I couldn't even imagine a more awkward family vacation.
with
Like,
cousin Power Bottom Billy
yeah,
along.
you got Power Bottom Billy with his fucked up eye, your terrified kids in the back, the dog who's probably, you know, took a shit or pissed. I mean, because I
would
highly doubt he
imagine.
was like letting the dog go outside for a walk to relieve himself. So it probably smells terrible. You got the dad who's obviously upset and freaking out. And then meanwhile, you got the mom who's probably hysterical,
Of course. And this
awkward.
is
What
the
do you think they were
case.
listening to?
I don't know. I don't know.
I
I bet
wonder.
50s radio was fucking good. Oh, do you know what? 50s radio. So this would have been like
Maybe, but it could have also been like Rockin' Robin or Rock Around
Ernest
the
Tubbs.
Clock
They were
or
listening
something
to
like that.
Ernest Tubbs. That's what I'm saying they were listening to. Some nice
All
and
right.
calming Ernest Tubbs. So they traveled over 2,500 miles, but now they had instructions from Billy, and he said that he wanted them to head northeast on 66 to his homeland of Missouri. He's returning back home. And it was almost 2 a.m. on New Year's Eve, and Billy demanded that these riders on the storm that they drive off the deserted highway and they drive down several dirt roads. Billy seemed to know the area well, and he began digging through a suitcase that was in the front passenger seat, and he started tearing up shirts, and he was making like makeshift bonds. Thelma, who was now fucking hysterical, was soothed briefly by Billy saying that all he was going to do, this was his plan, he's going to tie them up, he's going to take their car keys, and that would give him extra time to escape. So he tied them all up, starting with the youngest to the oldest, and next he gagged them all using towels to gag the adults. The car was parked. He got out the sedan that had been his home for the last 3 days, and he circled it once. He opened up the rear door, and he shot 3-year-old Pamela in the heart. Next, he shot Gary, and then 7-year-old Ronald 3 times through the heart. He quickly lunged around, and he shot the screaming woman, the protective mother, in the chest.
Mother, yeah.
And
What about Carl?
He'd been trying to get out away from his binds, and he was nearly there, but he was shot nearly point blank in the head. And it was over as fast as his figure had worked the trigger. And as a final fuck you to the family, he shot the dog.
Oh, and he even killed the dog.
He killed
Ruthless.
the dog.
Ruthless.
Ruthless. And what are you gonna do now? You've killed this whole family in this car. What are you gonna do? He got back in behind the wheel, and he drove to the outskirts of Joplin, and he was circling around the grey lead dust hills of the deserted mine. 2 days later,
he was just driving around. So for 2 days, he drove around with the corpses in the car.
You'll see. 2 days later, the car was found. The car had been abandoned on a muddy side road near Tulsa. They found bullet holes in the seat. The upholstery was caked in dried blood, and there was actually still puddles of wet blood that was still soaking into the floor mats. One of the investigators, he picked up a blue baby blanket and outdropped a 32 caliber slug. So this is what begins the biggest manhunt in American history. Within hours, this manhunt had begun with 2,000 law enforcement officers. They were joined by other thousands. So it wasn't just like the police, there was game wardens and private citizens. Texas Rangers flew in from Dallas. They were joining the other law enforcement agencies, all looking for Billy Cook.
But I mean, it's unheard of at the time. I'm sure there was like an all points bulletin. Like,
but they all knew that they were not recovering an alive family. They were looking for a dead family.
Well, with all the blood, yeah. What about the dog? Were the corpses weren't in the car though, right?
The corpses weren't in the car. They just found the car. That's
the blood and the bullets.
So
no dog.
No dog either.
All right.
So for days there was wide and varied reports. The sightings they came in, none were ever verified. The police had searched like vast areas surrounding the car, as you do, looking for the bodies. But they only got lucky when a police informant who had a bad attitude about Billy, who had been with him in the reformatory, he had snitched that Billy had once bragged that he knew every abandoned mine shaft in Joplin city limits. So the police took this information, and at 11 o'clock in the morning on January the 15th, a few FBI agents and the Missouri State Police, they assembled at a disused Joplin mine shaft. This shaft was, this shaft, baby, was 100 feet deep, and the top had once been cemented over, and then they'd placed planks of wood on top of that to stop like livestock from like taking a dive in.
It's a
They,
great way to dispose of a corpse, though.
well, yeah, because the police had noticed that two planks had been torn loose from the top. And when they leaned in and looked over the edge, what did they see? They saw the bodies of two adults, small children, and a dog was tossed on
Oh,
top
he
of
threw
it.
the dog in
The
there too.
dog!
Yeah.
Crowds started to gather at the side of the road. The fire service rigged up like a 3-foot kind of wide raft to retrieve the dead bodies. And as the dead bodies were brought back to the surface, they had 2 weeks of rot in them. A nationwide wide alarm went out. Roadblocks were set up across the 6 states. Billy Cook became the most hunted, most wanted man in the country. He was a mass murderer of the likes that America had never seen, out in the wild, wildly driving to a destination unknown.
There they are. There's the Mosers.
This is a good quality picture.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually from like, the 1950s.
There is another picture from the crime scene where you can see the dead dog, but it's nowhere near as good quality as this. But look at the size of that crowd that has like all come together. Because
Yeah,
this
it's
is how,
quite a large crowd in Joplin, Missouri. You can see that the child, all three kids are laid out there. One kid's still tied up. And you can
yeah, I
see,
think
oh,
you
the
can see
mother's
the
still tied up
mum's tied
too.
up too. And I mean, you
Yeah.
can see she's got a towel on her face when you zoom in.
There's Carl. Looks a little older there, but it's probably from the decomposition, I imagine.
Probably 2 weeks of rot over Christmas time as well, in kind of watery, muddy water.
Yeah, pretty gnarly.
So by this time, Billy, he had fled to California. He was staying in the one horseshit town of Blythe, California. Do you know what that is?
Blythe, yeah, is a
It's
that
in
is just kind. It's
SoCal.
just like no, it's just like a desolate tiny town, kind of by Colorado. I've only driven through it once.
Okay.
Yeah,
He ended up getting recognized by like the local burrito eating deputy, Homer Waldrip. And so on a tip, he went to go to like where he thought Billy was staying. And he got a gun instantly in the neck as soon as he walked in the door. And here it begins again. Billy forced the deputy back into his car, and he once again told his kidnapped passenger that they were going to go for a drive.
God, this guy just loves road trips. He loves
Yeah,
them.
he loves driving.
It's like
It's like
we're not going to
Richard.
go anywhere. We're just going to zigzag through the states. I'll have my gun out. We'll put some. Would you say Ernest Tubbs on the
Yeah, we'll
radio?
put some Ernest Tubb on. We'll listen to that. It's
Eat some
kind of
beef
like
jerky, and
it
let's just
reminds
go for a
me
road trip.
of Richard Ramirez, doesn't it? He loved driving.
Yeah, Richard Ramirez, but he didn't like take his victims on a long road trip.
Well, he did sometimes. Ted Bundy, he would have victims in his car.
But he take
Yeah,
him for like
not
just
to
an
this.
aimless road trip.
No, not to this extent.
God, I would have been so annoyed. I've been like, dude, just kill me. All right. I'm just
Sick of
over
listening
this.
to Ernest Tubbs, although I would.
Yeah,
never
and
do
it's
that.
like, and we're just driving around for days, going nowhere. You're making me take my pants off.
You
Just
power
kill
bottom
me.
daddy.
Yeah.
They got somewhere near the Mexican border, and Billy brought the vehicle to a stop. He handcuffed the deputy, and he made him walk out a short distance until he was kind of obscured on the ground by a bush. So this is a quote from the deputy. I tried to tell him not to kill me, and he said he didn't care about me or anything. He told me to get on the ground, and I did as he said. I didn't want to die. He stuck the automatic in his belt and he pulled my 38 out, and I was down on the ground with my face in the sand. He got over me, sort of straddled over me. Take your mind out the
Of
gutter,
course.
and
Of course.
he pushed the nuzzle of his own gun against my neck.
The nuzzle.
The nuzzle. He nuzzled him, just the tip. I heard him pull the hammer back, and all I could think was, I wouldn't feel anything. It would be over. One bullet right through my head, and I wouldn't feel anything. I didn't move a damned muscle. Then I was aware that the gun wasn't at the back of my head, and I heard him moving. He was walking away. I heard the crunching sounds of him walking, and then I heard him getting in the car and the car moving.
So he didn't end up, he didn't kill this deputy.
He did not kill this deputy for whatever reasons. Reasons only known to Billy. And he was away flooring the sheriff's car. And what he did, after he'd driven quite a while, he turned on his red and whites and he pulled over a blue Buick, which had Washington plates. And again, he's just going to keep it going on. He's on the run. And there was a young oil salesman inside this car who was on vacation by the name of Robert Dewey. And he slowed down and he greeted Billy as he came up to the driver's side door. And Billy just got straight in his car and said, "Let's drive."
Whoa. So he just going on another road trip in another car.
Well, he was hoping to, but Robert didn't get very far because his body was found a few hours later after Homer had made it back to town and had alerted the authorities. He was decaying under the scorching desert sun. They found shots in his back and right side, like he had been running away towards the sheriff's automobile. And Billy was roaring away towards the Mexican border in the dead man's Buick. And now
So he took off from Mexico and he just kind of executed Robert Dewey, threw him out just in the desert.
I
took off.
imagine what happened was he got into the car with Robert Dewey and said, "Let's drive." And Robert was like, "Fuck this." And he just got out of the car and started running towards just away from his car. And I just think Billy leaned out his window and probably just shot him twice. Yeah.
Pretty good shot for a guy with one eye.
One eye, yeah. You
Yeah.
know, props to the power daddy. So for this, because they were closing in on Billy now, there was like there was less distance between them. They had a manhunt of close to 1,000 men with some 200 bloodhounds brought in to track him down. So there's a lot of people.
So you can
that
see here in this picture that well, if I can get this stupid thing to work.
Click on it and then use the arrow buttons, Dad.
I'm
Either way,
doing
Dad.
that. I know I'm doing it, but it's
This is
not.
like instructing you're going the wrong way.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Fucking preview it. Fucking sucks. I have to use a different computer for this. But here you go. There's the detectives looking at the most wanted, and you see Buscato looking for. There's Billy Cook's there's Billy Cook's mugshot.
His wanted poster.
Wanted poster, yeah.
So Cook, the press were all over this. It had been like front page news for like days. And he was being referred to in the press as like the hitchhiking killer, the mad dog slayer, the squint-eyed desperado.
That's great.
Which,
Squint-eyed
all
desperado.
of those names, right? They just don't name serial killers as good as they used to. How cool are all those names?
Squint-eyed desperado is great. Yeah.
I love it.
You
So
probably
he-
love that one.
He got to about 100 miles from the border, but he had to abandon the Buick because he'd run out of gas. But Billy just fucking knew he was going to make it because as he had run out of gas, he had spotted the glow of a campfire in the desert. And he quickly and quietly made his way over to this camp. And he soon turned the happy campers into his prisoners. He held the men at gunpoint all night in the campsite. But they later said that they didn't know if they could run away or jump him because one of his eyes was always open, like the Metallica song.
His one bad eye never closing. So they're just
One
like,
bad eye.
is he awake? Is he not awake?
So these two campers are called James Burke and Forrest Damron. I think you've got a picture of them.
I do have a picture of them right here. There they are.
There they are. And
So these two guys
yes,
couldn't subdue a 5'6", 145-pound dude.
Billy did have an arsenal at his time. He had like not just one gun, he had about 6 guns on him. And they just said they were so scared of his eye. I mean, I'll background these two a little for you. They're a pair of amateur prospectors from El Centro,
Oh.
California. This is the 1950s. They're out on
Looking
a
for
gold hunting.
gold.
They're out
Yeah,
on a
looking for
gold
gold.
expedition in the 1950s. So do you think that these men have the biggest of brains?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they might actually they don't have the brawn. Like they might just,
Maybe.
be, geologists or something. They're not going to be, UFC fighters.
They
So
don't look like
maybe-
geologists to me, D.
Well, I don't know.
They did say that they believed they were going to die. And one of them is quoted as saying, Cook said he didn't want our dead bodies found, at least not so soon. So he'd have the leeway of getting wherever he was going. He joked to us and he said, so you guys will sting up for a while, but at least you won't have to be smelling each other.
So wait, did they have to? He just abducted. Did they have to take another long road trip with him?
Yes, on the road for a
Oh,
week.
Jesus Christ!
A week! Over
God,
the
what
next week.
this is the worst thing about Billy Cook is he like forces everybody to do this like onerous
torture.
road trip.
It's
That
the
I
torture.
would much rather just be shot.
Yeah, shoot me now, Billy.
Yeah,
So
I don't want to be sitting in a fucking car with you for a week going nowhere.
they were forced to drive 450 miles throughout the
Oh
Barjar
God,
Desert.
kill me.
Every night they would set up a little camp with neither men having the balls to escape under Billy's forever watchful eye. And he would sleep with his finger on the trigger of any gun. So I imagine that would be intimidating. I would not like
I
to.
guess at that point I'd be so fucking annoyed for driving around for 5 days. I would just take a fucking rock and just try to smash his head in. I would do whatever I could. I don't even care.
So I think John Hayward, who was an FBI agent at the time, and he worked trying to find Cockeyed Cook, he recalled that
Cockeyed cook.
Cockeyed Cook. We figured that he had taken captives. Police aircraft and helicopters were posted throughout the southern states and down into Mexico. He is the most dangerous, wanted man in the nation. When was the last time there's ever been a most dangerous and wanted man in the nation? It's been a while,
No,
hasn't
there's
it?
been a lot. Ted Kaczynski.
Kaczynski, but that was ages
Yeah.
ago. It hasn't
Well, I
been one
mean,
for a long
this
time.
was the 1950s.
50s.
No, they
But
do nationwide manhunts all the time.
Salvation did come on January the 15th, 1951. So they were alerted by various informants that the two missing prospectors and their captor had been spotted in Santa Rosalia, 600 miles south of the border. They've put some
Oh my
miles in since they got
God.
to Mexico.
It's the
I
worst
am-
road trip ever.
I am so sorry if I'm about to butcher some Mexican names here, but I'm terrible at the Latin languages. Don't come from me. Francisco Kraus Morales.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
He was chief of the Tijuana police. He boarded a small government airplane and he flew to the little fishing village. So, with the local police chief, Para Rodriguez, at his side, Morales found Cook and his captives just seated in a little cafe. Cook was arrested without a struggle and his captives joyfully released, and Cook returned instantly to await his fate in the US of A.
Without a struggle.
Without a struggle.
He's got an arsenal of weapons.
An absolute
He's got this
arsenal.
bad attitude.
So
He's in Mexico and he doesn't even try to put up any kind of fight.
I think that was just him anyways. I think no matter what, he would never have put up a fight. I think he just doesn't seem to give a shit. He's very
Him-
apathetic.
Yeah, but he murdered a family and the dog. You'd think
And the
it's like,
dog,
but you'd think at this point it's like, oh, okay, if they're gonna apprehend me, I'm gonna get the chair. Like I'm gonna die. So why not just go out in like a hail of
please,
bullets?
well, I'll tell you about him wanting to get the chair. So at the same time that Billy was being arrested, they had found the corpses. So it was all around this same kind of time. And there's some great pictures of like a manacled and Legain Cook. He was transported across the Mexico-US borders. These
think I have
pictures
some
are,
pictures of that,
yeah,
actually.
they're from Life
Yep.
magazine, and you can see just like the size of the crowd just waiting to see Billy get chucked.
I was
across the
reading about
border.
when they were looking for the corpses in that mine shaft. The decomposition was so bad that they had to like wear gas masks to like go in there and extricate the corpses.
Oh well, that'll be also because of the gas that escapes from dead bodies can give you gangrene.
Oh yeah, that's
Remember, I was
true.
telling you about that because that's
That
why
is true.
that's why excavating. What's happened to your picture, dear?
You can't see it?
No, it's just a white screen.
Oh,
Can you
I
see
can
it?
see it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
weird.
let me
It's
share
just a
again.
white screen.
I'll share again. How about now?
There you go. There's the crowd at the Mexico border. And they're just, look at them. I mean, it's probably the most exciting thing that's happened there for a while, apart from a donkey show.
Tijuana, the Tijuana border. Yeah.
Yeah, Tijuana,
I've
baby.
been going over there and well, it's been a
Seeing a-
while, but I used to go over
Seeing
there
a
and get
donkey
pills.
show. Yeah.
Get a donkey show, get
Mexican
some
pills.
Klonopins, head on back to the US.
So if you go to the next picture.
Oh
So
wait,
this is
there's
the
his
arsenal.
arsenal.
That Billy had on him that he would keep with him. So I mean, what's that? 2 rifles, a 32 and a 38, and a hunting knife.
And
then
he
all those
didn't even try to
bullets.
shoot the cops trying to arrest him.
No, he's
It's-
over it. So if you go to
it's
the next
mind-blowing.
picture,
There
here's
he
Cook
is.
being chucked over the border, basically. So there he is in his leather jacket and his slacks, looking cool as fuck. You do look
His
cool,
hard
Billy.
luck tattoos
Tattoo.
here. Kind of looks like Paul Newman here.
Does if you go to the
Yeah.
next one. They literally
There he
chucked
is.
him across the border. They didn't give no shit. So that was
I'm
him
sure they
across the
knocked him
border.
around a bit.
They kind of did when they were chucking him over the border. There was like a crowd frenzy, and throughout that whole time, Billy was just like didn't give a shit. He didn't try and fight back or anything. So if you go to
You can
the
see, look at
next,
his one cockeyed eye.
you can see it open. And this is them posing him for the photographers because he didn't want to have his picture taken. Because so he
Now
was
here
always
he
put his
kind of
head
looks.
down.
Here he kind of looks like Timberlake, though.
I see the Timberlake and the Ryan Felipe.
Yeah, he does kind of look like him.
Doesn't he look remarkably good for a man who's been on the road for like a week? Like I would look like a hot mess if I'd been on the road for like a fucking week driving all
I
those
couldn't even
many
imagine the
miles.
smell in that car.
Ugh.
3 men in a car. I like this guy here that's holding him down with the cigar in his mouth.
Yeah, he's very Mexican, isn't he?
Now you look at the camera, see?
So if you go to the next picture, I think that's where they take him actually into the jail. Yeah, this
There
is
he
in the
is.
jail. This is what he was doing. He kept his head down. He didn't want his picture being taken. Although I don't know why. He's a very good-looking man. Have your picture taken,
Yeah.
Billy.
I think now it's like he'd get all the just have the the bad boy complex.
Oh,
You know,
totally. I would
turning
have
on
probably
all
gone
those
to
young
his
girls.
trial.
Yeah,
And 36-year-old desperate girls
yeah.
like me. So he was shoved across the border, and at only 22 years of age, he's only 22. He'd earned himself a niche as the nation's most wanted and desperate criminal, and his trial of kidnapping and murder was finally over. His trial, sorry, it's not his trial, because once in jail, he's obviously the forensic psychologist that's swarming on Billy. And one of them said that he held nothing back. He regretted nothing. He told me about killing Robert Dewing, saying it meant as little to him as shooting a bullet into a dog. He told me he needed Dewey's car and that's why he killed him. I asked him why he hadn't killed the deputy sheriff, Homer Waldrop. He shrugged about that. He didn't seem to know or care. After my extensive interviews and tests,
Sociopath.
I think he's a psychopath. I found Billy practically lacking any human compassion, feeling, or sentiment. He has no regrets. He has no pity. So Billy, who was a killing machine, he signed confessions to all of his crimes and he referred to all of the killings with zero emotion. So he expected to be hanged in Oklahoma for the killing of the Moser family. But the judge, who was a kind judge, sentenced him to 300 years without parole. And this move angered the media and the public.
Yeah, but 300 years though, where was he going to be sent?
He was just going to be in Oklahoma jail till
Oh,
he
he was going to
died.
be in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Cook was charged with the murder of Robert Dewey in California, and this was the trial that pleased the public. He was sentenced to die in the gas chamber of San Quentin, and I think you just showed his. Yeah, this is his mugshot from when he was in Alcatraz.
Yeah, he was in Alcatraz before he went to San Quentin.
He was while he was waiting. The only quote that Billy gave to the media regarding his sentencing was this: "Everybody hates me, and I hate every one of them." I love him.
He's got a way with words.
I just love his attitude. So he did pretty well on San Quentin's death row after he got there from his time in Alcatraz. In fact, San Quentin's warden, Harley Teets, which
Harley
when I
Teet?
read that name, Harley Teets, I laughed. I did a 5-year-old tee hee hee giggle about it, Harley Teets. He said of Billy that he has no other words for other prisoners. He has no conversations. He has no friendships. He is the most completely alone young man I have ever encountered.
Definitely had a chip on his shoulder.
Oh,
God, I could just
completely.
imagine, like, he probably didn't even engage in conversation during these road trips. Just gun in your stomach, just drive.
Which makes him more intimidating and threatening to me because you can't get to know him. It's like
In a
it's
sense, I'd
definitely
just be
the
so
state
annoyed.
of a psychopath because he feels nothing and he shows nothing. That's psychopathic behavior. So the automatic appeals for Billy, they were exhausted quickly, and an execution date was set. He spent his final days in a very quiet resentment. And it was December the 12th, 1952, was Billy's last day on death row. And he didn't spend it any differently from all his other days. So he slouched in his cell. He was reading a newspaper. He listened to the radio through headphones, and he refused to talk to the prison chaplain, and he refused to talk to Warden Teets.
Just didn't
Teets.
care about anything.
So I have Billy's last meal here. I always love to know their last meals. Billy ate his last meal of French fries. I agree. Chicken fried steak, green peas, 2 slices of pumpkin pie, coffee, and milk. And he also had 2 biscuits that came with the meal, but he ate them after the pie because they're obviously his favorite part. On At 9:30 a.m. on December the 13th, 51 spectators stood in the witness room to the gas chamber. Cook stared at the faces of these deaf buyers as the doctor moved his stethoscope over his chest. Then, without a word, as he stepped over the threshold into the chamber, Cook jutted his elbow hard into the chaplain's stomach, who doubled over, winded.
Whoa, he like just totally gave him a quick elbow
Yeah,
right
to the
before
chaplain.
to the chaplain too.
To the chaplain, to the man of God. Inside the chamber, Billy clenched his fists and he shook it at all the spectators. They got him on the chair, they started strapping him down, and he whispered something to the captain of the guard. And the captain of the guard just like kind of loosened his bonds a bit slightly. The captain stepped out, and the airlock door was slammed shut at 10:03 a.m. and the lethal cyanide eggs were dropped. Cook's hands.
Oh, so wait, he wasn't in he was in the electric chair?
The gas
Or was
chamber.
it gas chamber. Okay.
Yeah. Cook's hands, they still remained clenched. He closed his one good eye. As the fumes began to fill the room, his hard look tattoos still visible beneath the thick, poisonous fog. He held his head back and he started inhaling the fumes, breathing in very hard. He didn't struggle against death. The only audible signs of his dying were 3 distinctive gasps. Born to kill, he would kill no more, and at 10:13, he was pronounced dead.
Oh,
He was
well,
gone.
yeah,
But-
no more unduly long road trips with Billy Cook.
Well, he actually did, because he had
Oh, yeah.
one final adventure that was completely out of his control, and I think is the cherry on the top of this sundae. So, the hearse that was containing his embalmed body, that was dressed in an ill-fitting pinstripe suit, had a white shirt and a black necktie, which is not his usual attire that we have seen from these pictures, which is like slacks and a leather jacket. He made a round ticket trip to Comanche, California. He was placed in an open casket in a hardware store. And this is the bright idea of a rich man called Boydston, who was always looking to make a quick buck or two. He hung up a sign that said America's Last Desperado, and he strung it up above him. And for the pleasure of a few coins, you could file past the executed murderer in situ.
Wow, so you could actually see
the
America's
cops.
spree killer, Billy Cook.
Yeah, and lots of people did. About 15,000 people did. But Billy's sister Cecilia, she threatened to sue. The public agreed that the whole kind of deal was grotesque.
Did they preserve the corpse?
Yeah, he was embalmed.
Yeah, but I mean, how long can you really go with an embalmed corpse before it starts rotting?
I don't know if a mortician should get involved. I imagine probably quite longer than we think, probably.
Huh.
So
He
he
must
was
have made some
shipped-
cash off of that, though.
Yeah, a few coins, 15,000 people. You're gonna make
Yeah.
some. You're gonna make at least 15
Heads
grand.
up.
So he was shipped back to Missouri in the dead of night, and 2 nameless relatives under a moonless night by flashlight in Joplin Peace Cemetery buried him in an unmarked grave. They say that the spirit of Billy is said to haunt the graveyard, and you can sometimes hear him out there on quiet moonless nights, rattling the chains to the cemetery gates. So
There he is. There's Billy Cook. He had some other tattoos.
It is just white screen again.
Ah, man, I don't. It's showing up for me. That's really odd. Here, I'll share it
Showing
again.
up on mine.
All right, now do you see it?
There he is. This is a very good looking. Yeah, he's got like a sailor's tattoo, hasn't he? It looks like an anchor to me. I've never been able to find pictures of that tattoo or a description of what it was.
Yeah, I wonder why he has like a navy looking tattoo.
Yes, I am hot for Billy. I will admit this. Bad boy Billy. I've had a bad boy crush on him since I was about 15. Even though he's a
And
dog killer. This
There
the
is.
grave.
There's the grave, but it's unmarked though, right?
It is unmarked, but his father is buried in this grave, and he's basically buried north of his father. So you can see like dementia, being crazy and greed. They're easy to understand, but I think like Cook is scarily different because he's a loner. He's coming at an unexpected angle to kill strangers. I mean, at the time,
Well, it sounds
was
like
an anomaly, right? This like never happened. We're used to hearing these stories of like people picking up people and killing them now. But in popular culture at the time, there was no one like this. Billy was the first, and he also had a huge impact on popular culture. So this is the start.
I mean, movie. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
not
the
only
movie.
just that movie, this is like the rise of the teen delinquent. It's got to have been spurred on by his apathetic antics because before 1950, Cook was like kind of immersed in the role of the outlaw. He had experienced nothing throughout his life but reform schools, life on the road. And then he was, of course, killing on the road and he was dying in another place of reform. It's like kind of completing the cycle of his fucking brief existence.
Yeah,
And it
no. I mean, so how old was he when he died? When they
23,
just 23.
just
Wow.
23, which is so young. And this
He
case,
accomplished so much, that Billy Cook, in those 23 years.
well, he actually did accomplish a lot through popular culture. Jim Morrison, he wrote the song Riders on the Storm about him. He also directed a short film in art school about him. We mentioned the Hitchhiker movie. There's The
In The
Hitcher with Rutger
Hitchhiker.
Hauer. But this is what's most famous to me. James Dean was said to have constantly carried around a picture of Billy in his wallet, and he adopted a lot of his attitude for his life changing role in Rebel Without a Cause, which is exactly what Billy was. He
That's
was a
pretty much what
rebel.
Billy was. And he didn't really have a cause. He was just
He did not.
kidnapping people and murdering people at will, just for
So
opportunity, I suppose.
Billy's father once said of him that you'll never know where you'll end up. Well, maybe if Billy had been given like one fucking chance in life, he wouldn't have chosen his path to live by the gun and roam, and maybe he wouldn't have ended up in the gas chamber at the age of 23.
I wonder though, with Billy Cook, like, had his mother not died and had they not been impoverished, I wonder if he still had a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he had definitely had like antisocial behavioral issues at that time.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a difference between being a sociopath and being a psychopath, though. I
Yeah,
think
to the
you
point
can
where you
live
just
quite
don't even.
happily as a sociopath and cause no one no harm. But I definitely think Billy, psychopaths are so rare, and I think Billy is definitely a psychopath.
Well, the main difference between a psychopath and a sociopath is
Has
a
no
psychopath can have
compassion,
sociopathic tendencies, but a psychopath has no conscience.
no
So I don't think
conscience,
they
no
even
compassion,
care at all
which is
whether or
Billy.
not he's murdering these children and murdering, I don't think it even bothered him. I don't even think he
Yeah,
thought about it. Whereas a sociopath does typically have a weak conscience,
very weak, even if
conscience,
it's just for themselves, because Ted Bundy had a conscience for himself.
yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think they would think that, but I mean, a true psychopath just doesn't even care at all. And it sounds like Billy definitely did not give a shit about anything.
And he's my
you know.
favorite. I love his attitude.
But I mean, there you go. There's the first spree killer and American Spree Killer, the first of many. I mean, it's so commonplace
Sadly.
now. If some guy abducted a family and murdered a family of six, drove around for a bit, you might read about it on like, a true crime website or something. And you'd hear about it, for about a week or two, and then would just kind of fall off the map and no one really even think about it because this happens every week here. But in 1951 and 52, unheard of. I don't think
Started
anything
a
like this had ever happened.
Sadly started a precedent.
It did. Yeah. People, this is episode 783 here, Sick and Wrong. We have some news stories come up next. We have phone calls a little bit later. But first, here's a promo about our Patreon page. That was
I just
pretty
have
good.
to I'm gonna go to the bathroom and grab a beer, but then I've got some like really cool Billy Cook stuff that I can show everyone because I have memorabilia from him. And I'll show you the books I used to piece
Kate
this all
collects
together.
memorabilia.
I do collect memorabilia
Yeah.
and I also have a massive true crime collection, but I will be back.
All right. I'm going to have to take a
Come back.
piss
And
in a
then
second,
D
too.
can go from one of his famous loud pisses.
Yeah. Take out the remaining eye. Hey, man, this thing sucks. Yeah, he wasn't a psychopath. Shmuley. Shmuley's doing good, actually. I need to post a picture of Shmuley and my brother I can't really upload anything on this chat, but I got to post a pic of my brother like feeding Shmuley with a bottle. Yeah, you got it's pretty hilarious. He's very like my brother is definitely very paternal. I bet you he would have made a good dad in another life. I'm going up on the weekend of April 3rd uh, to go and hang out and meet Shmuley for the first time, which will be cool. I'm looking forward to it. However, when I've chatted with my sister on the phone, it's like all you can hear is shrieking baby in the background. Shrieking baby. That's it. I couldn't even imagine dealing with that all the time. I'd die. There's no way I could deal with that. But yeah. So I think he's doing all right. Yeah, I don't know if I could really deal with having a kid though. God, that'd be rough. That'd be rough. Real rough. Fucking babies, man. I don't know why she wanted when I was talking to her too. We go into this on the outtakes. I was kind of going into it last week and I think this week too. And I was talking to her. My sister's just like, yeah, it really changes your life. You know, she's like, it's totally different now because me and Jared just could do whatever we want. And now we can't. And I was like, yeah, well, this is sort of your fault. You know, you kind of brought this on yourself. But she seems really happy. So does he. They wanted a kid. I bought him a really cool Rolling Stones pajama thing today, which she'll be into. All right, I gotta
Yes, I
take
have
a
a
piss.
beer. Ash.
Did you get a beer?
I'll show everyone the books, but then I'll save the good memorabilia for when you get back. Yeah, Ash, I've got a beer, Ash. I've got.
I think I need to get a beer myself. What are you drinking? Oh,
I
that's
can
some
never
good
say it.
beer.
The Prague beer. Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah, that is some fucking good beer. I like the beer in Prague, actually.
I would have a whiskey, but I have to be at work tonight, so I'm not gonna get too total.
All right, let me take a piss.
Here I can talk over Dee's loud piss. So this is like a book by John Gilmore that's got a great chapter about Billy. I use a lot of shit from this. If you don't know John Gilmore, he's fucking great. He's easily one of my favorite true crime authors. This is a compilation book. I can't remember who else is in here. There's Barbara Graham. Oh, there's Wonderland. John Holmes, Spade Cooley, John Gilmore. He's great. And then this is the other book I used by Glenn Shirley. Look how handsome Billy is there. Very handsome bad boy Billy. This is wanted poster on the back. This focuses more on his getting caught and like I got stuff about his like final days and what he was up to in jail. But this is really good. It's just salacious. Glenn Shirley was like a 1950s, 60s author, and he wrote a few other salacious serial killer books. Like I really like his book about Belle Starr. You can find these on fucking eBay. And then I've got some cool shit. Some stuff that Dior want to see because I've got a copy of Bad Seeds, which was Miriam from the Cramps. She actually left the Cramps. She stopped being their drummer because she wanted to make Bad Seed the scene, which is pretty fucking groovy. I'm just gonna open my beer. I've been awake all night, guys. I'm used to it though. I am a night worker, a night shifter. They say that working nights takes time off your life. Yeah, so I haven't shown it all. I thought you'd want to see this. So I've got a copy of Bad Seed. Do you have any of these?
Nice. I don't have that.
This is Miriam from the Cramps, her husband. Her and her husband did it, and this has got some couple of pages about Billy Cook.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, so I used some of that. And then this is just a self-promotion, but you see on my EP, there's Billy Cook.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I wanted a picture of Billy Cook because I've written a lot of songs about Billy Cook. And then this is the most.
Kate's hot for Billy Cook.
I am hot for Billy Cook. So these are from the San Francisco Chronicle morgue. So underneath the San Francisco Chronicle, I hear they have 2 warehouse-sized basements. And in these warehouse-sized basements is like all their back issues, all the pictures that they used to buy. So these would come in on the teletype machine that it said from. Yeah, it said the teletype machine. So this is what would come in. So you could see that there's the return
Oh wow.
date.
Where'd you get this?
I bought it from a trusted seller. And this is what they would have printed in the paper to, like, here's Billy. So the FBI releasing this picture today at Kansas City, Missouri, said it was the most recent study available of William E. Cook Jr., a 22-year-old Missouri desperado who's being sought for questioning in connection with 8 slayings. Cook is wanted for questioning the slaying of Robert H. Dewey, Seattle, Washington, and the disappearance of the 5-member Carl Moser family of Atwood, Illinois. He doesn't look nice there.
Yeah, no, it kind of looks like
But
a German Nazi guard.
That's his Missouri picture that Dee put up before. He's just like a spotty teen there because he's only 17. But this.
That's what I'm saying. Timberlake's older retarded brother.
Yeah, this is the most amazing picture I own. So this is what was on the front cover of Fairfield newspapers. This exact picture that I now own.
You know, his eye looks like he got like stung by a bee or something.
Yeah, like
Isn't it?
The writing on the back. So I know I should frame these, but I really love the writing in the back. So I like being able to see the writing in the back. But this is, if my house is on fire, I'm picking up them.
So Kate doesn't have regular porn. She just has that.
Serial
pictures of serial killers. That's what she wanks to.
Yeah. Different strokes to different folks, mate.
Whatever blows your dress up is what I always say. All right. Moving on with some stories.
Story time.
Yeah. So the first story we have here has to do with an incorrigible prop comedian who cuts off his Pep's ears. Yeah, he wanted some more props.
He's all ears.
Florida man here allegedly killed his grandfather, cut off his ears, and put them in his pockets.
Okay.
Definitely part of his prop comedy routine. It's a regular carrot top, this guy. As his grandfather lay dead and bloodied on the front porch of their Lake County, Florida home this past Saturday, a week ago, Colby Allen Parker stood nearby talking to sheriff's deputies about what happened that evening. Suddenly, he reached both hands into his front pockets, pulled out 2 human ears, holding one in each palm for the officers to see. It's his patented magic trick. Does it at every party.
Did he not like give a quip then saying, "I'm all ears, officers"?
Yeah.
Did he?
It's like, I can't hear you.
Did he not do like an Arnold Schwarzenegger and Commando pun?
He probably did. He had to.
I fucking hope he did, because you've only got
a great opportunity. Yeah.
Like Eminem said, you've got a once in a lifetime shot at that. And if he's going to ruin it by just going,
because I mean, you're going to go to prison after this, so you might as well take the chance. Police confirmed the ears belonged to his 77-year-old grandfather, Ronald Wells Sr. And they said that Parker had beaten, stabbed, and mutilated Wells after the pair got into a fight while smoking marijuana, which is odd.
That is fucking odd.
Typically, people don't engage in violent fights while smoking marijuana.
Very, very rarely. Oh my god.
However, this is Florida. So who knows what's in the marijuana out there, you know?
The only thing you should be fighting about on marijuana is where you're going to get the pizza from. That's the only thing you should be fighting about.
Like it's very odd for anyone to like, you know, have violent tendencies on marijuana, but it's Florida. That's why there's a wild card there. Investigators also found another unsettling item in Parker's bedroom, an apron hanging on the wall that said, "The Family Butcher." It had 2 plastic bloody human ears attached to it.
Oh, this is hilarious.
So maybe
with Carrot Top.
Well, maybe he was just adding more ears to the apron. He only had 2, so maybe he's adding 2 more real bloody human ears. He's like an ear collector. A lot of people collect things. I collect vinyl records.
I collect
you collect pictures of serial killers to wank to.
Yes.
So this guy collects ears. You know,
he's kind of like, you know, he's just doing what Ed Gein did. Where's the harm?
Well, Ed Gein collected vaginas, right?
He collected all types. He made a little nipple belt. He also made an apron. I think his apron was made out of breasts, from what I could remember.
All right. Well,
This is just
I don't-
an ear apron. So that
yeah.
he could
I mean,
hear,
he's just
hear you
collecting here.
better.
Parker, 30 years old, he was charged with second-degree murder and assaulting an officer. So it all happened this last Saturday evening. A neighbor reported a stabbing. Deputies arrived at his DeLand, Florida home, 6:40 p.m., and they found Parker there standing on the porch with bloodstained hands and arms next to his grandfather's severely maimed body. Not sure what he was doing all that time. Just hanging out with his trophy, like Predator or something. Like, I don't know what he's doing.
Can you die from having your ears cut off? I know Chopper did it. Chopper didn't have his full ear cut off, but like you can. Would it
Well,
kill you? Are you going to bleed that much? Because the ear
he-
is mainly cartilage.
Did a bit more than just cut his ears off.
I know, but I'm just thinking from that alone, could you die? And I don't think
I
so.
don't know.
No.
I'm not sure. I don't know if you'd bleed out that much from it.
Chop was a hard bastard. So
Yeah,
but
he
I don't
wouldn't
think
have
his
that. That
granddad
wouldn't.
was a hard bastard.
Yeah, this guy's also like a 77-year-old man. Police asked Parker to wait outside while they confirmed that the grandfather is dead. They found that Wells had several stab wounds and his ears were cut off. Parker, meanwhile, was telling officers that they'd gotten into an argument, and Wells came at him with a knife. He claimed he was able to wrestle it away from his grandfather and proceeded to stab him in the heart. Come at me, bro.
Catching
The guy is your pep. You know, how much could he really come at you? He's probably walks really slowly.
Hey, wasn't there just that guy in Florida who fucking rescued his dog from the mouth of an alligator, and he was
he a pep?
And he was a pep. He was old. He was in his 60s. 70 is like the new 50. That's what people
There are
saying.
tough guy peps though.
And this guy could be a tough guy pep. He's obviously a cool pep if they're smoking the marijuanas together and probably taking bath salts too. So
my pep got hit by the bus. He was a tough guy pep.
was he? But not
Yeah.
to survive getting hit by a bus though.
He did survive getting hit by the bus.
Oh,
He died
did
of a
he?
heart attack at the hospital later, or I think in the ambulance afterwards. Yeah,
Oh,
he got nailed
shit.
by a bus. Lived
Yeah.
through it. Had a quadruple bypass. That's what actually killed him.
Shit, that is a hardcore pep.
But he I think it was because this is probably, let's see, he died in the 80s. I think it was early 80s. He and my mom were walking downtown Chicago somewhere, and a kid grabbed her purse, took off running, and my pep chased him down like this, because my pep died when he was 86 or something. So he would have been his 70s. Chased this kid down into an abandoned building and ran up and tackled him on the stairs and held him till the cops
Wow.
came and gave that. Yeah, he was a tough guy pep.
Was he like the Jewish Dirty Harry?
Yeah, he was kind of a fat guy too, but he was one of those big guys, like a big Russian guy.
Oh right, yeah.
You know,
Fucking
so
pep. You know.
yeah,
drink-
tough guy.
have
So
a
maybe
drink
this
for
guy's
pep.
maybe this grandfather here was a tough guy pep. That was they're smoking weed and he was sick of the insolence of his grandson. Next thing you know, he's like, I'm gonna come at you, and he's like, come at me, bro. And then
Yeah, they
he
were
gets-
just playing. Now this is my knife. Now this is my knife, weren't they?
Well, a sheriff's deputy asked Parker if he had any weapons, and he said yes. But after doing a pat down, police couldn't find any weapons, only an unknown object in each pocket.
His bloody pep's ears, weren't they?
This object was soft to the touch while being firm, similar to a boner al dente, soft yet firm like a baby's arm.
Yes, I was
You
about
know?
to say that sounds like something I've held in the palm of my hand.
So he felt this thing. It was soft yet firm, but he didn't remove them. They then asked, Parker what it was, and they asked him well, what happened to your uncle? Because he had an uncle who was the son of the grandfather, Ronald Wells Jr. They're like, where's your uncle? And he goes, oh, I know where he is. He stuck his hands in the front pockets. This is where he is. Pulled out the ears. And then
No,
he said, speak up. He can't hear you.
that's what. Yeah, did he really say that?
No, I just made that up.
I was about to say he didn't say that, did he? Because why are you gonna do that and not just be like, he's here? Hey,
I know, but
what?
it's funnier than any Joe Carrot Top would have done.
It is funnier. Like
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this guy was definitely not a very good prop comic.
He should take it on the road though. He'd get better in time.
Yeah, you've got to test it out before a live audience to see if the joke lands or fails. That's what
I
they
also
do.
wonder what other body parts he'd have, like severed body parts.
That were also soft yet firm to the touch.
Yeah. The ears turned out belonging to Parker's grandfather and not his uncle, Ronald Jr., who was not harmed in the incident. After doing his little comedy routine, though, he tried to steal the police officer's gun and taser.
Wow.
He kicked and headbutted 3 officers as they attempted to
Whoa.
restrain him and place him under arrest. And 2 officers, shot their tasers at him. Wasn't even effective.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
think
he wasn't shot.
Well, he blocked the tasers with the ears. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then
pulled it
the
out.
ears got
Ears.
tasered.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised he wasn't shot, but he's white. So
So of course he won't.
yeah.
Mm.
White people don't get shot. You can headbutt police officers, you can kick them in their nuts, you can cut people's ears off. You're not gonna get shot.
Yeah, but don't breathe around them if you're black, because you will die.
Oh yeah. No, if you're black and if you're black and you sneeze around a police officer, you're gonna get shot.
I agree.
He was then taken to the hospital and transferred to the county jail. Once detectives arrived on the scene with a search warrant, they found evidence that seemed to contradict this young prop comedian's story
You do not
about the
say.
grandfather attacking him. They found an aluminum baseball bat stained with blood that was resting in the corner of the porch there. Detectives also noted that there were gashes on the grandfather's arms that were consistent with defensive wounds. When they entered the kitchen and found a large kitchen knife with a wooden handle on the table, the knife was dripping blood onto the floor.
Killed
So-
his pet man.
I think there was a surprise attack here on the Pep Pep.
Maybe Pep wasn't stoned.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this guy was smoking whatever that bath salt Florida weed that they have there. And that makes people like chew each other's faces off. And this is what happened. After his arrest, police say Parker admitted in a sworn statement that he struck his grandfather in the head with the bat until he fell to the ground. Then he retrieved a butcher knife from the table and stabbed the victim in the neck and chest multiple times. Afterwards, he cut off his grandfather's ears, but he said he didn't cut his arms though. He was thinking about it, but just
cutting them off.
yeah, but he doesn't have any bits right now for arms,
Well, he
only
didn't have
ears.
any fucking bits for the ears, did he? We thought of like 10 in this time, and he thought of none.
I know. Investigators asked him, but why did you do that? Why did you attack your grandfather and murder him? He said that he wanted his grandfather to be with his deceased grandmother.
Oh, how
Quote,
sweet.
It was his time to go.
How sweet of him to think.
Yeah, but
of
who
his
is he?
dead
Judge
grandma.
Dredd? Like white trash Judge Dredd? He decides who gets to live and who gets to die?
You do not sully Judge Dredd's good name in this household, do you? You take that back. Judge Dredd has nothing to do with bath salts. You know what the pun I would have made if I'd have cut his arms off and was waving them around? I'd have been like, "Oh yeah, I'm dead tired. I've just flown in." As you waving the
Ooh,
arms.
that
around.
would have worked. That's a
Yeah?
good prop
See,
comedian
that could
joke.
work with the
Yeah.
arms. Yeah, I'm getting a job on SNL
What would you do with his severed cock?
with his soft yet firm severed cock. I would disappear into the bedroom for several hours.
That's a joke.
That's what
Hopefully.
you think. Yeah.
Well, that's an awful story there. That's what happens when you have an incorrigible prop
happens.
comedian as a
Ugh.
grandson. Yeah.
So terrible. Nobody wants that for their children. That's another thing I don't want for Shmuley to be a prop comedian.
No, I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen. No
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons, no Carrot Top for you, Shmuley.
It's just-
What do you have here for the second story?
So I had that a Louisiana man indicted for allegedly using Grinder to find gay men to kill and eat
I feel bad like for gay men because,
gay men.
well, think about it though. Like Grinder, any guy is going to show up to your house. I don't even think they care. Like if you're a serial killer that's gay, you
use
have
Grindr.
your pickings. Like you can do whatever you want. Like if you're, like Ted Bundy, you got to go on Tinder and swipe left and then engage in a little bit of banter and then go meet for a drink before you're either going to come close to getting this girl, in your car and murdering her and shoving her in the boot of your car, Whereas like if you're a gay guy that wants to murder other gay men, you just go on Grindr and be like, hey, I got meth.
And within 5 minutes, 20
You
of
got a
them
dude
knocking
at
at
your
your
house,
door.
and then and then you take your pick.
So a federal court has indicted and charged Chance Seneca, this guy's name, a 19-year-old Louisiana man with a hate crime and 5 other criminal acts. The indictment,
Chance Seneca.
yes, that's
Is
his
that how you say
name.
his name? Doesn't it sound
Chance
like
Seneca. It
he,
sounds like a
he should be in
fake.
like Block Party or something?
It sounds like a sugar replacement. You get the Seneca. Oh, just put some Seneca on that. It's good for people with diabetes. So this indictment alleges that Seneca he used Grindr, which is a hookup app for men. For those who don't know, for men to have sex with other men. That's what it is. It's not so they can find everlasting love. And he used it to find a gay man to kill. Seneca hoped to eat his victims' body parts and save other parts as mementos and trophies.
Was he power bottom?
I think this guy was definitely a power top with a knife.
Um,
That's what he wanted to be. So
well,
on
he
June the
wanted trophies
19th,
too. Then he might have kept the ears.
he might have kept the ears. I imagine that this guy would have come up with a joke as well. Because he seems a
He
bit
probably
more on the ball.
he probably would have kept the cocks.
They kept the cocks. On June the 19th and the 20th of 2020, last year, he attempted to kidnap an 18-year-old Holden White and he tried to dismember him. Holden White, who was then 18, was throttled, had his wrists cut, and his neck sliced in a bathtub of bloody water. The attack
Ooh,
happened
gnarly.
when he met Chance, 19, for the first date. For the first date, he just went round to his house. He was like, you see what I mean?
That's what I'm telling you. It's like if you're an opportunistic gay serial killer, like a gay slayer, it'd be so like think
It's
about
easy.
Dahmer. Dahmer's like, I don't even need to get on a train and go to Chicago and go to a gay bar, talk to some guy and get him to come back with me. I just go on Grinder and say, hey,
Even
I have meth.
even the police were giving victims to Dahmer.
Yeah, but I'm just saying if Dahmer had Grinder, I bet you'd have been like, it's my favorite app. It's so much easier. It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
ordering a pizza.
Literally a pizza for Dahmer with his plans.
Yeah.
So
Flesh pizza.
White, who is also from Louisiana and is openly gay, has been physically scarred for life. He shared his story with the local news outlets in a bid to prevent others from going through similar trauma. So he's continuing his recovery. He's landed a new job. He's also had a crowdfunder raised, and that has made now more than $100,000 to help him get back on his feet.
So was it worth it?
So they had met for $100,000 to still be alive, and you've got very
You
little.
buy a lot of
scars.
therapy with that. Yeah.
They had met on the Grinder. They'd been messaging actually for about a month before he was like,
Oh.
sure, I'm going to come over to your house, which is longer than what I thought. I thought this would have taken space within about 7
Yeah, I think
hours.
but the way my brother said they send a message like, hey, and then the guy just sends a picture of his cock. And then my brother's like, come over.
I've got meth. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think they use code words because he got banned from Grinder for not using a code word. So I think they use like Tina or I don't know what their
You told me that
are.
recently and I laughed till I cried.
Yeah.
Your brother being banned.
Banned for public enemy number 1 on Grinder.
That's so funny you got banned from it. So it was only a short while into this date when White recalls that his attacker pulled a cord around his neck and he began throttling him until he blacked out. He said that when I woke up, I was in his bathtub naked. The water was running and it's cold. He was in the process of doing my left wrist, which he means like the attacker, Seneca, he was cutting his wrists horizontally.
Oh, so he's like sawing his wrist off.
He was trying to cut off his hands. He partially recalled how his other wrist was also cut and his neck sliced as he lay in the tub. The neck was more like a torturing stage because he was doing it so slowly and deliberately.
So he was just trying to, probably getting some sadistic pleasure out of this.
Ooh, probably.
Yeah.
He said again, I want to say he was trying to go for the carotid artery, but he missed. He would take the tip of the knife and he was twisting it into my throat each time. And it's left him with at least 6 scars, but you can't really see them now because they've healed very good. I love the fact he said that. He's like, you can't see my scars. They've healed really well. He's like giving himself a prop.
Probably got some plastic surgery,
So he kept passing in and out of consciousness, but at one point, Holden White awoke and he recalled feeling really cold. He was seeing the bloodstained water, and his attacker was looking down at him, and he was just staring at me with a fearful look in his face, like I just did this kind of look. He said,
Well, that's kind of odd. So this kid who planned out
"This
this
attack."
murder, this attack, all of a sudden felt like a pang of remorse. Like he was sitting
He
there, like,
must
what am I
couldn't go
doing?
through with
Like
it.
like he had a lucid moment or something.
So
It's weird.
Holden was like just laying in this fucking cold bath with all his, like, blood running out of him, and he was thinking he was about to die, and he was just saying to himself, like, stay calm, over and over in his head. And then Seneca, for whatever reason, he called the cops. He called the pigs in. He told the
Oh, he
operator that he just murdered a man, and he would wait for the police, and he'd be outside his house just waiting.
wow, he did like have like a guilt trip here over this
He
whole
must have
thing.
had a major guilt trip. So he's been arrested, charged second-degree murder, and he remains jail with a $250,000 bond.
You gotta, one thing you kind of have to give him props for is
Ah,
he did it in the bathtub. At least he knew there was gonna be a mess. He wanted to like make sure the blood goes down the drain. It's like
yeah, with water as well, so he'll
there's some
bleed out
forethought.
faster. There is some
Yeah, some
forethought.
forethought there. Sucks it was a cold bath.
I know it should have been like at least like lukewarm.
Lukewarm, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
if he
because like the
was,
cold's also going to wake them up, so you need to make it
yeah,
lukewarm, I would say, for a
has some
proper
calming
murder.
music, some scented candles.
Oh, you're
Could
just
really set the scene here with
this is
this.
lovely. What will you put some like what Kenny G on?
Yeah, maybe something more soothing like Enya.
Oh, I was thinking Neil Diamond.
Or do you ever what was that band Enigma? Do you ever remember them in the 90s, Enigma?
Are they like one of those kind of trance, kind of ravey
Well,
bands?
sort of. It was like this new age kind of music. They had this song like I know we talked about it on the show before. But it was like a Native American band like hey yeah
Hey, yo,
yeah
yo,
yeah
yeah,
yeah
yeah,
yeah
yeah,
yeah and
yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
sadness part 1. And
I
it's just
remember
it's
that. God, I
I
can't tell
would
you the last
almost
time I
play
heard
it,
that.
but then we'll get pinged here on YouTube with a copyright violation.
I
But go
think
check it
everyone
out.
knows.
Enigma, whatever the song is with that Native American guy.
Yeah.
That's what I would put on, and then I would just probably get a better saw, like not a knife to cut through his hand,
I
probably
saw
like
a
a
serrated
hacksaw.
blade.
Yes,
Probably would be
yeah,
a
at
better
least a
word.
serrated blade.
The police department, they've said that they're not investigating the incident as a hate crime, but Holden White and his family say that the attack was homophobically motivated because they're pointing to this guy's Facebook account, which belonged to Seneca. It features a profile picture of Jeffrey Dahmer, who we all know is the cannibal serial killer who murdered 16 men and boys from 1978 to 1991. White said that he didn't notice the picture on his Facebook before they met. He
Oh,
didn't
you
look.
gotta be kidding me. You
Yeah,
don't think this dude
no.
looked him up? He had, if they've been talking for what, a month or two, he didn't even look him up on Facebook.
He clearly didn't. Although maybe he was like, "Oh yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer, he's pretty cute." You know what? He probably, because he's like only 19, he was probably like, "Who's this cutie?" And it's Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, Jeffrey Dahmer is commonly considered one of the more attractive
Yes.
serial killers.
And yeah, he's pretty cute. Like he's had his good days and his bad days, but he wasn't horrible to look at.
I
But
think that would be a bit of a warning sign, though, when you go to like, this potential lovers page and they got like Dahmer as their profile pic.
but you say that, but to somebody like me, I'd be like, "Oh my god, this guy knows who Jeffrey Dahmer is." It would be a
Yeah,
selling point for me.
but would you do a little further investigation?
Yes, I would ask him. I'd be like, "Have you read the Brian Masters book about Jeffrey Dahmer?" When he said no, I'd be like, "Okay, denied."
Poser.
So his mother told the local news station shortly after the attack, "I just don't understand what he could have done to someone so horrible to deserve to die." She said that her kid was a good kid. And then she added, "He stands for the gay pride thing. He's won all sorts of trophies for acting. He's a good kid and he doesn't do drugs."
Yeah, but he goes to random dudes' houses and
Yeah,
takes a
on
cold bath.
Grindr.
Yeah.
So he spent a month in the hospital before he was let out. He has since landed a new job and he's continuing rehabilitation. He's also begun raising questions about the police response, calling for a hate crime conviction. Because he says, what were you going to say?
Well, wait, maybe
Oh, okay.
go on with your
I'll
statement
see, yeah.
here.
He said
I'll
that
hold my comment.
he could have done this to a woman. Instead, he chose to do something to someone who's gay and proud about his sexuality. He chose to go on the app Grinder. He went on an app designated for gay people. He chose to choose someone who is gay and very proud of his sexuality. And he said that he apparently this is what the attempted killer had said in prison. He said he chose me because I have a smaller stature and it'd be easier to kill me. He knew what he was doing.
Well, I mean, it definitely sounds like an opportunistic killer, but is it a hate crime if he's also gay? Like if he wasn't a gay guy, but he was targeting gay guys because he hated gay people,
Then that's
I
a
could
hate
see this.
crime.
But well, I guess we don't know. I mean, does this guy hate gay people? Like maybe he's a self-loathing homosexual. So he's
Maybe.
taking out on other gays, which in that case, would that also be that probably would also be would be a hate crime.
But maybe it's like we're saying, it's because it's easier to go on Grinder and get someone to come over to your house.
That's what I
than it
think.
is
He's
on Tinder.
opportunistic. He's just
Yeah.
like, I'd have to put so much effort into Tinder.
He
You
would.
got to go to Olive Garden, got to make conversation for 45 minutes.
Olive Garden.
You know, yeah, buy her a couple white wines and then, pretend that I like, fucking Gilmore
This-
Girls. And then I'm
This
going to
is
get her
why
back to
you're
my house.
single.
I'm just saying, it's
Pretend I
like it's a lot of
Gilmore
effort.
Girls.
With Grinder, I mean, it's just like, hey, got porn and meth. Come on over.
Holden White, he's also questioned. This is part of his whole investigation of the police. The police did not offer a rape kit to gather evidence or not on whether he'd been sexually assaulted, and he feels like they should have. I don't know if that's the point. Is
I
it?
guess. I mean, what if the police are like, ew, gross?
Who cares?
No, I mean, well, I'm surprised actually they didn't check to see if he had,
He'd been raped.
Yeah, I mean, it's considering the circumstance.
Maybe, but it doesn't look like it
Seems
was
like an
a
oversight.
sexually motivated crime. But yeah, it is probably an oversight. So his next
Yeah,
court
for sure. I'd want to
appearance
know.
is a pre-trial hearing scheduled for March the 3rd. So that's been and gone. So we're going to hear, this is going to play out in the press. And I wonder how long he'll get.
I wonder how well he'll fare in prison.
Well, yeah, if he does like Grinder and he's using that for his own means, I think he'll do very well in prison.
Yeah, he might actually meet some friends.
Yeah,
you know?
he will.
Yeah. Sounds like a good place for him to be. People send your stories, sigrunpodcast@gmail.com. We have some phone calls coming up next. 323-522-4032. Actually, one of these calls is a jail story about getting arrested.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love
I mean, have you ever been arrested, Kate Rambo?
I have never been arrested. I am a good girl, D. Simon, but I have been in the back of a police paddy wagon a few times.
Whoa, for whoring?
For slutting it about on the streets. Yeah, they've booked me in the back of the wagon.
Huh. Well, I'm sure that's like common for most northern slags.
Oh, it is. We're all used to it.
It's just a
6
Thursday
times a
night.
year. Yeah, a quiet Thursday.
It's a quiet Thursday night. I've only been arrested once, actually.
Yours was for
well,
pissing.
actually, I take it back twice, but
yeah. Yours wasn't for anything too naughty.
no, it wasn't even
No.
that bad. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, we're gonna hear what happened to this one guy who calls in, foreign guy,
Thanks.
about getting
Ooh,
arrested.
even better.
But first, here's a word about AdamandEve.com.
Gino's saying that killer guy, he's a heightist if he's anything, and it's true. Because he's picked that guy because he's smaller stature. Yeah.
Well, it
He's
may be easier to
heighted.
subdue him.
They're going to start making heightism a hate crime next, and you can't put on your Tinder that you're looking for
Is
a
that
guy
even a
6 foot
word,
and above.
heightism?
Heightism? It is now. It is now, mate.
Is it?
Gino just invented it. Gino TM it. Don't let the Jews steal your money.
That is
He
it. That is
will.
insulting. That is insulting though. When you look at like a girl's profile and it's like, if you're under 6 foot, swipe left. It's just like, well, fuck you.
I think you can only do that if you're a taller lady yourself. But if you're doing that because you want a tall boyfriend, but then it shows what a fucking asshole you are because you only care about, I just care if they're tall. I just want them to be tall, you know. I don't care what they
That's-
do with their personality. I just want them to be like, yeah, I want them to have the personality of a 6'3" man. They don't actually give a shit. But if
No,
you're
I think
6
what they're thinking of
yourself,
breeding. I think they're breeding. They want tall children.
to do what with? So they can run long distances through the
I don't know,
Sahara
play
Desert. Like
basketball or
what?
something.
Play basketball. Fucking stupid.
I have no idea. You know what was weird? I was just thinking about this. So today, when I was in the Armenian Trader Joe's, there's this store. It's a supermarket over here. It used to be called John's. Like there's a normal supermarket called Vaughn's, Vons, and there's Ralph's, and those are the two regular supermarkets. Well, this one's called John's, and it was like a Mexican Vaughn's, and it was gnarly. Like you go in there, it was just all Mexican food. Is really sketchy. Well, someone bought the John's and rebranded it now, calling it John's Fresh and Easy. And you go there, and it's now like an Armenian Trader Joe's. Like these Armenian people
Nice.
bought it. It's all Armenian food. Yeah, they have really good, amazing hummus and lavash bread and
Oh
all sorts of
yeah.
stuff. And like all meat. I'm really into Armenian red wine. Actually, is really good. And it's like
Oh,
$5. Yeah.
cool.
Anyway, I was in there today, and it's like I'm assuming he was homeless. Maybe he wasn't. I'm not sure, but he looked kind of homeless, kind of a bit haggard, and he had a just one fucked up looking eye. It was weird. It was like half closed and red and sort of like it looked inflamed. And
Did
he
you
was
see
like,
my boyfriend, Billy Cook? Are you talking about my boyfriend?
no, and this guy definitely wasn't as much of a looker as Billy Cook.
Okay.
But anyway, I was standing there just looking at I think I was looking at like cheese or bread or something. And he was just like, "Hey, can you help me out?" And I was like, "What? Where can I get the chicken?" And I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm assuming over there. He's like, but where? Can you help me out? And I was like, no, I'm not going to help you out. And he was just like, but where can I get the chicken? And
What's
he
a
was
chicken?
coming like pretty close, no mask,
Oh, fuck that.
fucked up eye. And I was just kind of standing there. I kind of sort of like was behind my cart, which was there's definitely the cart was in front of us. And I was just thinking like, I'm going to be like a lion tamer and push him back with the cart. But he was sitting there like, well, can you help me get the chicken? And I looked at him, I was just like, no, I don't fucking work here, dude. I'm not gonna help you get the chicken. I was like, go ask someone that fucking works here. And then he goes and asks this other guy, another white guy. They're standing over there. And that guy was like, oh yeah, sure, come over here. And he like takes him over to the butcher area and was like helping him order this chicken. The guy kind of looked at me like,
You're a dick.
dick.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't have helped him. I'd have been
Oh
like,
fuck, why would you help this disgusting homeless guy?
I've been like, do I look like I work here?
Well,
No.
that's what I said. I'm like, I mean, I'm wearing like a fucking black like t-shirt. But this is what I'm wearing. I'm like, do I look like I fucking work at John's? And this guy.
Don't be insulted about supermarket workers. They do a good work.
No, I'm not. I'm not insulting anyone, although everyone that works there is Mexican. But it's like, but I was just thinking, like, do I look like I
Yeah,
work
I
at
don't
this
even
place?
have
I'm
like a
not
fucking
wearing
polo
a,
shirt or
a
a
polo shirt
vest
or
or
anything with
yeah.
the John's insignia. But yeah, this dude that had to have been, yeah, probably like around my age, like in his 40s, just kind of looked at me like, you're a dick.
I just
Like
would have
you
been like,
have no
I don't
compassion, you
eat
prick.
chicken, fucko. Don't eat it, so I don't know where it fucking is. Yeah.
Well, we were standing right by the butchers. It was obviously that's where all the meat was, and there were butchers behind there. He could have walked over to one of those guys wearing a bloody butcher outfit and said, "Hey, where can I get some chicken?"
I'd have been
But
like,
instead, he was asking me to do it, and I was just like, "No, I'm not going to help you." But then this other guy, Mister Fucking Mother Teresa over here, was just like,
fucking
"Come
white
with me,
knighting.
sir.
Yeah.
Come with me, and I'll get you this." And I was just, I don't know. I remember standing there and just like, "Fuck you," and
I'd have
just
been
walked
fuck
away.
you too. Like,
Yeah, I was pissed. I
time
wasn't
to
really
get
fuck you to
scolded.
that. I was just like fuck you to that
To the
arrogant little
guy.
prick.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been like, help the homeless. It's like, no, fuck you.
I didn't even think homeless shop in supermarkets. They're
I'd have
usually
been like,
outside of supermarkets.
buddy, you don't need chicken. You need something for your eye.
Oh God, that eye. This dude was standing right next to him too, with the
Yeah.
fucking eye.
Ooh. That's
Yeah,
why
I don't
the
know
COVID
what the
rate's
fuck
so
was
fucking
going.
high in California.
I have no idea what was going on with that fucking eye though. I'll tell
Gino
you
is
that.
wanting to know, what would the rabbi say? Would the rabbi have helped him?
I think the rabbi would have said like something racist and like get the fuck out of there. No, I don't know I don't know actually what the rabbi would have done in that situation. He probably would have done the same thing. Like, I don't fucking work here.
Yeah, because you don't. That would have been my instinct to be like, I don't know, I don't work here, and then just walk away.
That's what I said. I was like, I don't know, I don't work here. But he just wouldn't stop, and he just kept pestering me about it. So it's just like, yeah, I always find that really odd because usually people don't talk to me in like public places like that. Not that
Same,
I'm that weird looking, but people just maybe just don't look like someone that's friendly.
I very much have a stay away from me attitude when I'm out in public as well.
I usually just kind of a scowl or have my headphones in.
Yeah.
And then I even have my fucking headphones on. Listen to
Did you
fucking
have
Iron
Did you
Maiden.
have to take out your headphones?
Yeah, and I
to
was
listen
like,
to it?
what? And the guy's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we're gonna get the chicken.
The
He kept saying
chicken.
the chicken, and I was just like, I don't know. I put my headphone in, and then he's still talking. I'm like, dude, I don't work here. I was so annoyed by it. Although I got some good shit from that fucking Armenian.
Did you get
Trader
some of the
Joe's.
chicken?
I didn't get the chicken, but I got some baba ganoush. You know
I
what's the
love baba
funniest?
ganoush.
The funniest thing about that place though is almost any grocery store here, like Trader Joe's, Safeway, Ralph's, fucking Bonds, and all that. They got a whole vegetarian section with all the fake meat products and all the vegetarian stuff. Not at Armenian Trader Joe's. They don't even fuck with that shit. You can't even get a fucking tofu hot dog there. Fuck it.
So it's just all the kind of food that is vegetarian, anyways, like falafel.
Well, they have stuff like that, but I mean, I'm
Like
just saying
mixed
they don't
in.
even. They just have tons of meat, and they
Yeah.
don't even try to like. No, they have a section where they have like Middle Eastern type food, but they don't have like. They don't even try to fuck with like the tofu or fake food, fake
Yeah,
meat
why
or
not?
anything like
It's
that.
probably not part of their culture. Why fucking not?
Yeah, they're
Doesn't
just like
bother me.
vegetarian poofters. That's what they
Yeah.
say.
Well,
Let me
people
grab
who
a
are
beer.
vegetarian are puffed, mate.
That's
You're
back.
puffed.
Take that back, Missy.
You're puffed to number one. I'm puffed to number two. I've been vegetarian for a few years now.
Fucking
The only thing I
back.
really miss is hot dogs. I really miss hot dogs because Quan kind of do like a smoky hot dog, but it's not the fucking same.
All right.
It's not the same as do miss hot dogs. That's all I miss.
Drinking a quality beer here. All
Your
right.
Miller's Light, the champagne
We
of
do a
beers.
quick do a quick test. Make sure you can hear this. Then we can get going.
I can hear it.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I fucking love
Alright.
that show. I was watching it the other night.
Stranger Candy. I gotta
You
watch
pick
the
up-
rest.
You pick up
I haven't
on
watched season
jokes
3.
that you never would have like picked up on. And you just like 20
When you
times.
rewatch
watch
them?
through. Even this is like after you've seen it 20 times, you're like, oh, I never noticed that before. Because there's one point where she falls out with her stepmother and brother, and she's like, she takes like a fucking courgette out of the fridge, and she's like, I'm just going up to my room. And for ages, I never noticed that she was taking a courgette out the fridge.
What's a courgette?
Oh shit, what do you call a zucchini?
Oh, a zucchini.
She's taking a zucchini out the fridge.
Oh, when
like,
she's
I'm just going up to my room. Yeah.
I like that part where she's like yelling at Stu, the meat man, and she throws like a biscuit at
The
him. And he's just
roll, yeah.
like,
I
nice
totally-
biscuit blocking, Stu.
I think that was improv. That's because the way that they did it all plays out is very improv.
Funny thing about Stranger Candy, it's like Stephen Colbert's like first like real like mainstream television show.
He
Although
looks exactly
was
the
only on-
same though.
Yeah, he doesn't even.
He's
yeah,
not
it doesn't even
aged.
look. Do you ever notice he's got a fucked up looking ear?
Is that this ear? He's got a weird ear where it looks like he's been punched, like he was a boxer or something.
It's
very
deformed. It's a
cauliflowery.
deformed ear. Like
Oh,
it's never. Yeah,
he
it's a
born with
deformed
that?
ear. Born with
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it just looks like a cauliflower ear. Like
Nah,
he was
it's like
boxing in
deformed.
school.
Do you see the one where I forget which one that was?
Jumbo
Stranger
baby
Candy,
Jumbo.
where he wants to like be a like a rocker, and he's singing all those 70s rock songs.
Oh yeah, that's.
And he
fucking,
wears like that the wrist cuff.
Yeah, that's in the second or third season.
Oh, I love that. That episode's great. I'm gonna have to watch that show
It's a
again.
fucking great show. You can watch it 100 times and never get bored of it. It
Yeah.
would never be made today. Never be made today.
It's so racist. It's
It's-
ridiculous.
It is racist against everyone living. If you breathe air, then they will make fun of you. On
The principal Onyx
Strangers
Black
Account.
Man.
Oh my god, that episode where she spray paints.
The N word. Yeah, no, it's that show would never be made this day and age.
It's so good. I highly recommend
Alright.
Strangers of Candy.
So we got a few phone calls to get to. 323-522-4032 is that number. Remember, people keep it under 3 minutes. And yeah, we'll play it here on the show. This first call is a guy who's very concerned about my sister and her husband Jer's reluctance to have baby Shmuley circumcised.
Oh my god, is it Jeffrey?
Could be. No, it isn't. It's another person who's very concerned. By the way, they named baby Shmuley. They didn't name him at the hospital. They named him like a couple days later. My sister's all freaked out. She's like, we got to come up with a name. And she was like going through the list. She settled on Ozzy Scott Wilson.
He looks like an Aussie.
Ozzy.
He genuinely looks like an Aussie.
I was hoping she'd be, spelled Ozzy, but she's doing Ozzie.
Oh, kind of like how that's nearly like how
Like
you.
Ozzy and Harriet.
Oh, or like somebody from Australia, because Australia would be Aussie when you
Yeah,
call
but
them an Aussie.
there people, have been named Ozzy with an IE, but
He's gonna get his name misspelt throughout his whole life, just to let you know. People are
I
gonna spell it
will
Y
rightly so. It should be Ozzy because that's how you spell Ozzy.
in honor.
I'd like to
Yeah.
think that she's naming him after Ozzy Osbourne, but I don't think so. They're not huge Black Sabbath fans. Jared likes
Yeah.
Sabbath. My
He
sister's
looks like
kinda-
Aussie though. He looks like an Aussie. It's cool. It's a cool name.
Yeah. Anyway, this guy is named Walter, and he's very concerned about them not circumcising Shmuley.
Oh, David and Caitlin. This is Walter from Connecticut. Quick
DDA.
couple notes on circumcision. I would highly recommend it because my wife and the Pediatric Association, we had a disagreement, and the Pediatric Association said it wasn't necessary, and it turned out to be a thing that should have been done because they were not peeing well after 5 years old, and they were trickling and struggling to pee, and we had to have the operation.
Wait a second. Why you can pee with a foreskin? Like, does
You
it
can,
block
but
the
when-
urine?
Well, when the foreskin's too tight, this is usually when they will cut it off. They usually know around that age or before that age, this kid should have been struggling to pee, and they take the foreskin off.
Okay. I do not own a foreskin. So
I have a drawer full of them. I've got a
um,
drawer full of foreskins.
but when you pee, do you have to pull the foreskin back when you pee?
No, what most men in Britain and like Europe do is they pull the foreskin totally over the cock, over it, and hold it tight, and then they pee and they fill it up like a balloon, and then they just unleash it into the toilet. That's what they do.
Oh, that's how men pee. All right.
That's how
Well,
real men pee.
yeah. Apparently, he didn't teach his son how to pee properly.
And the thing is, you're supposed to pull back the hood, and who the hell wants to do that? Particularly when I'm working. So anyway,
Americans.
This guy's just like, I'm not gonna teach this fucker how to like pull his fucking hood back and just cut the shit off. Like we don't need to do this. I got things to do. I
Yeah.
got places to be.
It's like the
A
height of
TV to
laziness.
watch. It's like,
Taking
I'm
an
not
extra
gonna do this.
0.2 seconds to pull some skin back? No, there's a better way, honey. And I know what you
You
can do.
I wonder if that's why the Jews do it. It's just like, oh God, now I gotta go grab this little kid's fucking dick skin and pull it back and the hood. Oh, I can fall. Let's just cut it off. Don't have to deal with it, and they can just go pee. I bet you that's the way it worked.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
The very first Brie. Brie?
Brie.
recommend it. And a funny story: the
Funny story.
child, one of the children of my two sons, they were in the bathtub 3 or 4
Is he
days after
talking
the
about
operation,
himself?
and then there was a
I know his wife may be a member of the pediatric board, as he's saying, but is he just talking about himself and he's using his wife's cover to cover up the fact that he's had foreskin problems?
I don't
Walter,
know. He sounds like
Walter,
he sounds like
we're all
he's a
friends
dad.
here. Yeah, but Walter, we're all friends here. Like, if this is what has happened to you, Walter, don't feel ashamed. You can just tell us. That
I
it's your
don't know.
foreskin.
I'm thinking it sounds like it's his son. He sounds like a dad, doesn't he?
I
The
love the
kid
fact
sounds
that-
like someone famous. I'm
I
trying to
love the
think of
fact
his
that
voice.
his wife is like a member of this pediatric board, and she's coming back and being like, "Well, honey, I've got some more stories about these kids' foreskins.
Well,
We're
no,
gonna
it
cut 'em
sounds
all
like
off."
it sounds like the pediatric association saying no, it's fine. You can keep his foreskin, and they got into a disagreement saying like, no, we should cut it off.
Oh, I thought he said his wife was a member of the board of pediatrics, and it's all these are some stories that she's been.
No, I
filtering
think
back
the
to him.
board of pediatrics and the doctors
Oh.
doctors are like, oh, it's fine. You can just let him. You should just let him keep it.
Well, do you know what, mate?
They
There's a
were
lot of
arguing.
fucking people in Europe who all have foreskins, and none of them are forming boards to like cut off foreskins.
Yeah, but they're making big bubbles of urine in their pinch foreskins that they're spraying
Yeah,
all
that's
over
how
the
real men
toilet.
pee.
a little rubber boat that had a little propeller with a battery in it, and it got caught around the gauze, and that was on there protecting it, and it started ripping it apart, and the kid was in agony. So,
How is this funny? Like, Jesus
Walter,
Christ.
that did not happen, Walter. Don't
Wait a
read into
second.
the Sick and Wrong podcast and lie to us, Walter. It's insulting.
Wait a second. So the kids had to get a chop because his foreskin was too tight. They had to get a cut. He's got gauze on it. Would you be putting him in the bath?
Well, this is like, remember when I said my pal Franken Dick, he was old. He was like 22 and he had
Oh,
his
God.
foreskin removed.
Supposed to be way painful at that point.
It was way painful, but it was also hilarious. And he had to have salt baths twice a day. And he said that first
sea salt.
bath that he had after the opera. So he was in hospital and he had to stay overnight. And the next day in the morning, he had to go home and have a salt bath. And he said he has never cried as hard as that moment when his
Just
dick
burned.
touched the salt. Yeah,
Oof.
he was like agony, he said. But then after like 5 days, it was totally healed, and he was getting out in the pub, and there was like stitches in it, and we were all laughing, calling him Frankenpenis. He
God,
survived.
Sea salt, though, does have healing properties.
Well,
if
it
you
definitely
ever
did for his
Had an
Frankenpenis.
open wound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I used to stretch my ears back when we used to gauge my ears, they'd always like slice his skin and get infected. So you had to dip it in sea salt.
That
And-
fucking smell of stretched ears is
Oh, it's so
rank.
gross.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
it's
it's
so
the most
gross.
gross thing. I had a boyfriend who stretched his ears real big, and sometimes we'd be sat watching telly and it would just pop out, like just because of the pressure and just like that fucking smell of it. Would just
Did
like,
he ever just put his
"Ugh."
finger in it and just put it under your
Oh,
nose?
it was
and you were
massive.
like-
He could have put a fucking.
No,
dick
but I
in
mean,
it.
did he ever just put his finger
Yes,
in it
that's
and
why
put
I
it under
know
your
it's so
nose while you were
fucking
sleeping?
rank. No, he did that while I'm
No.
awake, and I imagine you did that as well.
get back to you, Walter from Connecticut. I would say a circumcision, like your father said, it's probably a good thing. So, all right, take care now.
Aw.
Well, my father
Any
said
follow-ups?
it's a
I'll call you
covenant
back.
with
Take care.
God.
Love your
That's
show.
what my father said.
Oh, bless you, Walter, for your little take care at the end. I like you, Walter. Bring
Yeah.
back.
Well, he calls
Bring back.
back with a part two.
Oh my
He
god,
did
does
part
he?
two. A little
Brilliant.
more Walter for you.
I love the name Walter as well.
Yes, hi, Walter. As a follow-up, there was a couple things I wanted to mention. When they finally got the operation, like a week later, they could pee normal, and it was like a fire hose. So I was proud of them. We went hiking, and then they felt.
It's a hell of a stream you got there, boy. Reminds me of your
Oh,
old man.
Yeah, I love the fact he's saying he's proud of him. Walter.
And if you wait too long, the operation, I think, is more painful and it's more expensive. So,
Yeah, because it's a bigger foreskin at that point.
Not over here where we've got the NHS, Walter. It's all fucking free and dandy.
Yeah, but it still probably hurts a bit more. Like
It
your
hurts,
mate
but I
had to
mean,
get it done.
it's not like you have to pay for the pleasure of it. It's free.
That's true.
you tell your son-in-law, not son-in-law, your
Brother-in-law.
brother-in-law that you better get that done quick. All right, take care now.
When I go up there in a couple weeks and be like, you better get that done, Jay. Quick.
I love how all like the listeners are now starting to get embroiled in this. Should Ozzy have his foreskin or should he not? Because do you know what? I'm going to take a totally different stance to Jeffrey just to start family fights. And I think that Ozzy should keep his foreskin because it's more normal over here. You're born with a foreskin. Keep it. Why get rid of it?
Well, it's normal over there. It's abnormal over here. And women are just like freaked out by it. So I say chop that thing off.
But Ozzy, because he has British heritage, might be like, fuck the States. I'm going to go and live over in my ancestral home of Britain. And then he'll come over here and the women will be like, oh. Well, to be fair, D, I've dealt with dicks that have a foreskin. I've dealt with dicks that don't have a foreskin. Guess what? All ends in the same results.
I guess, but there's smegma on one and there is no smegma on the other.
I've never met, I can't tell you, I've spent like 10 months telling you this now. I've never met a dick with smegma. You have to
I
be
like
a
how-
dirty fucker to get smegma.
Well, a lot of men are. I like how you think that Ozzy is going to leave sunny California and move to fucking England. The worst weather ever.
Oh yeah, but what? there's a lot more going in England, isn't there? Like I just said, the NHS, and he might be like his humor might be
Do you
more
guys have
British.
better vacation policies? But I don't
We
know
have
if the
better
better
workers' rights.
vacation would make me leave. Like, I mean, it's like 78 degrees here today.
Well, will Ozzy ever be able to afford to buy his own flat in San Francisco?
Maybe if he's circumcised.
Oh, because that's all the goodness comes to circumcise. I'm gonna send Jer a message just being like, let the baby keep his foreskin.
You know what? I
I'm
remember
starting a family fight.
there was this group of converts like that converted to Judaism that my dad was like coaching through, and like the mother and father were like, yeah, we want to convert to Judaism, and we want our boys to they're gonna be Jewish, and my dad was just like, well, there's a certain matter we got to take care of here. And so these kids, well, the kid was like 14, and the other one
Oh,
was, I think,
shit.
like 11 or 12. And he made them get them chopped, like both of them. And I remember being like, wow, dude, that sucks. Because I was around the same age, and I was just like, dude, that fucking blows. Like, in order to join the club here, you got to get snipped.
Even was
You
the dad
know?
already snipped?
I think the dad was snipped, but they were
must
also
have been.
like, but I think they also were just kind of like, probably parents in the 70s, and they were like, we're not going to mutilate our kids. And then little they know,
They
20
had
years
to.
later, chop their kids' dicks, tips of their dicks off.
More foreskin for Ozzy, that's what I say. More foreskin.
Jews always have to have 10% off everything. That's what they say. Thank you, Walter. And I'm going to pass your words of wisdom on to my brother-in-law. I think it will fall on deaf ears, but I'll keep you posted on that.
Loved your
But the
accent,
audience, if
Walter.
you guys have any kind of strong opinions on whether or not young Ozzy should get circumcised, feel free to call in and let us know. All right, this last call we have here is from the Swede.
Nice.
He's a popular user of the Discord,
He's a good egg.
frequent contributor. Yeah, he's a good egg. He calls in about getting arrested, which will be interesting because I don't know what it's like to get arrested in
Swedish
Sweden.
jails. I only
Yeah.
know it from obviously it's Norway, but I only know what the jails are like because of Varg.
Oh yeah, which wasn't a bad jail at all. Like you get to have
He
a
went to a
keyboard.
lovely Norwegian
Yeah.
jail. Yeah, where he
Yeah,
got
not
treated
bad at
like a
all.
little princess. So
Yeah.
I imagine Swedish jail is the same.
Hello, Mr. D, Miss Kate. This is the Swede. I heard you were asking for a going to jail story, and I think this might fit the bill. I moved to Norway after my school graduation, like 13 years ago, and I started working 3 shifts in
His English accent's actually not bad. Like his Norwegian, Swedish, English accent's
You've
not
never
bad.
been to Scandinavia, have you?
No.
They all
They-
speak better English than me, mate. What I love about all of them as well. They're like, please excuse me, my English is terrible. And then they just rail off words where you're like, what is that? I've never even heard that English word before. They're
Yeah, no,
masters
I
of
mean,
English.
yeah, it's not bad.
version of the Cockring factory, basically. And I made a really good friend there on my shift. No need for names, but he was from South America, and he had all the stereotypical traits, the good and the bad. Very nice to his friends, but not so nice against assholes.
When he's like Scarface or something, like, is that like a South American trait?
I was picturing.
I know. It's like, say hello to my little friend.
You're racist.
He came to me after a shift was through with, and he told me that he needed my help. And I was like, sure, what can I do? And he told me that his 14-year-old sister had been diddled by a local kid when she was passed out drunk. And he wanted me to help him beat this guy up, which was fine, because when it comes to young people being taken advantage of, I can't refuse,
Wow. Yeah. I've never been in that situation, but if a friend of mine was like, this dude raped my daughter, or I think I would definitely help them in that situation.
Yeah, go over and lever them, as we would say.
Yeah, I think I would. I don't know if I'd be able to like. I don't think talk him out of it either. I think it'd be like, yeah, that guy deserves to be leathered.
Yeah,
know?
yeah, I would agree with
I
you.
love that term.
Levered.
Get leathered.
Getting levered.
Yeah.
It's not a white knight thing, but you want to help. You can
the right thing
understand
to do.
his pain and his anger. The problem was that when we had given the guy quite a beating, his brother came and collected him in his car and put him in the boot and told me that I had to come along.
Okay.
Getting complicated now.
So wait, you go over there, you give this guy a good leathering.
Yeah.
He's beaten up. The brother shows up and they put him in the boot, in the trunk of the car.
Yeah, why would the brother put
Why not
brother-
put him in the back seat of the car?
Yeah, or in the passenger seat. Oh, and why would they like, now you get in this fucking car?
Yeah,
now?
but then on top of that, I would be like, I'm not going to get in the car. I just beat the
Nah.
shit out of this guy,
I'd
and
be
we
like,
shoved him
this
in the
is-
trunk.
This is done now. This is over with. Boot
Well,
of
I
the
wonder
car.
if the
I've got to say that boot of the car is a much nicer way to call the trunk. Isn't boot?
Yeah,
just more
I always like the
delightful?
term boot. Yeah,
Boots,
trunks is like an elephant's trunk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder if the brother though was in on it, because the brother must have. I mean, he diddled some girl's kid.
That's true. You kind of that stuff.
The
in the
brother might
film,
have been
you
like, "You
always
guys got
know.
to teach him a lesson."
I don't
you know?
know. There definitely feels like there's more to that part. But he only has 3 minutes to tell the story. You've got to edit yourself down, haven't you?
I think he's doing a pretty good job so far. I'm enthralled.
So we drove him to his apartment building. They took him down in the cellar, and they sat him down in a chair and bound him up. And this is when I was like, "Whoa, shit!"
Wow, so his brother did this.
No, I think maybe he means the guy who has come to him from South America asking for help.
Oh, the South American
The
guy's
brother.
brother.
Yeah, the brother of him. That's who I think.
Oh, okay.
I
All
don't think
right.
he means the
The victim's
pederast.
brother. I thought it was
Yeah,
the
he doesn't mean the
pederast brother.
pederast. No.
Okay,
he
okay.
means
All right, all
the
right.
South- the
It's late at
son.
night. Takes me a little while to
Well,
piece
I
together
also
all
got
the information.
confused. Yeah.
So, okay, that makes sense. So, South American guy's brother shows up. They shove him in the boot, drive him to the cellar, tie him up to a chair at this point. Yeah, at this point, it's definitely
Now
getting
this is,
into like the advanced levels of
torture.
intimidation and
this
torture.
is like James Bond territory is about to begin.
Yeah, this is like I'm expecting that scene from Taken, one of my favorite scenes. Remember where he like makes that makeshift like electric chair and like
Yeah.
hooks it up to like the light switch, and every time he turns on the switch, it like electrocuted the guy's balls.
That's it. Yeah, that's cool. I'm hoping for that too.
That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen here.
And then they got these portable, like, one platter stoves out, and basically put his feet into water and started to boil. And of course, I didn't want to be there for that, but I was basically told by his relatives that this was a matter of honor, and I got the feeling that I would catch a beating or worse if I left.
Ooh, that's a weird situation.
The guy lived, but we were picked up by police on our workplace like 2 days after, and they took us to the station for interrogation. And well, I was in the local county jail for 4 days, but I was later released when it was basically testified that I only witnessed it and I had to witness in court. I got a fine for the beating and I got a mark in my registry, but that was the end of that for me, thank God. Coming up to 3 minutes, so next story is going to be a permanent marker butt plug story from Thailand. Thank you
Yeah.
guys, and thank you for everything you're
Whoa.
doing. Love you guys. Bye.
Hell of a teaser there.
Sweet. You got to ring in that story. Oh my
So-
word.
What happened though? Did you just avoid the South American? Did the guys get deported?
Yeah, like because obviously you can't go through that and then kind of witness against them in court and expect things to be like all happy as Larry at work, can you? Although
No,
that guy I
they-
imagine would have been in jail because he's done
Yeah,
the
I imagine that
torture.
guy probably would have been in jail or probably deported if he wasn't.
Do you
if
know
he's
what? He
South
was
American
probably
or
the
something.
only South American guy in all of Norway.
Pretty easy to pinpoint.
It's
You know.
fucking easy to pinpoint. There's like
Yeah.
There's like one person of color in all of Scandinavia, and it was him. He
Yeah,
did
that's
it.
got to be that's a weird situation. How the whole family's involved. They're torturing this guy, and you gotta like sit there and be like, I just signed up for the beating. All right. All I wanted to do was give him a beat down.
Yeah.
Like, can I
I'm
just
not-
leave and go home?
I don't
You
want to
know?
boil this dude's flesh. Now I'm watching
Yeah.
it. Oh, like, do you think like if you boiled somebody's flesh while they're still alive, would it start to like smell? Like, you know, when you boil hot dogs in water, it's got that particular smell to it. Do you think it would be like that?
I don't know. Like, do you think pieces of skin would just slough off?
Well, look, it would, because that's how Whitney Houston died. And when they pulled her out of the
When
bathtub,
she was
her skin,
Her feet were being boiled by a bunch of South
she
Americans.
boiled alive. She boiled
Oh.
alive.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
You don't know how in a bath. You don't know how Whitney
I
Houston
thought she
died.
OD'd and just
No,
died in
she
the
had
bathtub.
taken her usual level of meth, just like enough that wouldn't kill fucking anyone.
Well, heroin. She didn't do math.
She did like meth and crack. She was on crack. And she took
Oh.
her usual amount of drugs, but she got
Yeah.
into such a hot bath that it caused her to have a heart attack. She passed out and then she drowned in the bath. But because the bath was so hot, when the fucking morticians or whoever arrived on the scene tried to pull her out the bath, her skin slipped off her body. That's how hot
Oh,
it
so she was just bones?
She was just like
Or is it
fucking the
muscle?
open layer of
Muscles.
the underneath the epidermis, and that's how Whitney Houston died. She basically boiled to death. She drowned / boiled to death, and that's the only
God.
in the hotel that's down at the end of Melrose.
I don't know. Was the
That's where
Beverly
she
Hills
died.
Hotel?
Yeah, that's where she died.
Can you get a room?
You can get her room; it's still open.
Can you take a bath in that bath?
I think they've done an investigation as to how hot the bath water was, and it was at like 40 degrees.
Sounds like it's like hot as
And that was like
McDonald's coffee.
2 hours after they picked her up as well. Ooh, look at
Yeah.
us talking about Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I
love
wonder if you
Whitney
can.
Houston.
I'm gonna go there and take a bath in the bath just for,
You could look. I'm a
or
seasoned,
Instagram.
I'm a seasoned bath goer, and even that is too hot for me.
No, yeah,
can
that sounds
handle
gnarly. Well, sweet. That was a fascinating story. It's way better than the time I got arrested for urinating in public. That's a way better story.
And God, the end. I want to hear the next story about the Swede in Thailand.
Yeah, I wanna follow up on that. I love these arrest stories. You know,
I love
I
them.
don't know
more.
why out of after 15 years of doing this fucking show that we've never been like, call in with your arrest stories, because I'm assuming a lot of people that listen to the show have been arrested at least
Arrested.
once.
Yeah, I would like to hear the rest stories. I want Adam to ring back definitely with more Japanese, because there was still some questions he never answered, and I like Adam.
Yeah, no, I'm from Tokyo.
And where and Indiana Bones, I want him. I bet he's done something with his life. I want him to ring back just for my own delights.
People call the Stick Around hotline 323-522-4032. Every week we promote the Reddit page, but that Reddit page is thriving. There's a lot of people. There's like 500 people on there posting some seriously gross shit. Just go to Reddit, do a search for r/Sick and Wrong podcast, no spaces. I posted some funny stuff there this week.
Yeah, I've been a
Can't
bit
remember what it
absent
was.
from Reddit and Discord this week. I'm sorry, guys. I've just had a crazy fucking week, but I'll be back to it.
Busy. Get
Yeah,
back
I'll
on
be-
the horse.
I will be
Back
back
on
on
the
the
horse.
horse next week. Yeah.
Yeah, go check out the Reddit page. Also, thank you to everybody for signing up on the Sick and Wrong Patreon. There's a lot of action on the Patreon. And what's cool too is
Yeah.
when people sign up for Patreon, you get the access to the Discord. So we get some new people in the Discord. But we're doing a lot on Patreon these days, way more than I've ever done in the past. I think it's because Kate's really into it.
Yeah, I'm into
And
the Patreon.
yeah, no, you've like inspired me because I was just like, fuck it, done. But then Kate's like, no, let's do the news. Let's do this. And I'm like, all right, cool. So now we're starting to do a lot more stuff on there. We're also kind of reworking the higher tiers and kind of redistributing content. So we're doing some exclusive content on the higher tiers, such as our Sick and Wrong news segment. We're also doing a video hangout that we're going to do for the $20 Bath Salt Brigade people. There's a few of them out there that want to meet up. I'm going to try to schedule that next couple weeks. It's a little tough thing to schedule, though. It's a bit tough to schedule because we have all these people in different time zones.
Yeah,
but
we're
the
gonna
way I'm-
try and make it work.
Yeah, the way I'm thinking it'll work, We'll hang out for like 30, 45 minutes, something like that. Probably
Have
have
a
to do it
beer.
midday my time. Yeah, like I'm thinking it's gonna be like a happy hour thing.
Yeah, we'll all
You
have a
know,
beer together. We can all have a
have a
chat.
beer, we'll drink, chit chat, show each other our foreskins. It'll be fun. It'll be a good time. But yeah, but there's a lot going on there on Patreon. But at the $5 tier, I mean, if you just want to sign up just for like the lowest, well, lowest tier is $2, which is just a donation. But we got the $5 tier. You do get an extra news story. You get extra phone calls. Was it this week we did the Twisted Firestarters Afghan war stories? That was crazy. Was that this week? I don't remember.
No, that
Might
was
have been
last week.
Oh, last week.
But I
Yeah,
loved it.
yeah, Twisted Firestarter had these. He was stationed in Afghanistan. He called them with some pretty amazing war stories.
Hilarious stories.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, you do that, and we get the outtakes. It's like almost a couple hours of content just at the $5 level. So once you start going up, you get even more than that. And we do appreciate everybody supporting the show. Also at the $10, $20 level, you get the Sick and Wrong Overkill, which is our bonus episode. Kate actually this week is talking about one of her favorite bands, Slade, sharing some stories of Slade and sharing some real life stories, real life rock and roll stories about Drunk Dad, who was a rock and roller.
My dad was a rock and roller. He was in a band from about 1965 to 73. And I mean, he toured with everyone. He toured with Led Zeppelin. He toured with Black Sabbath.
But your dad
Purple,
like
and
knew
Slade.
Tony Iommi like personally.
My dad and Tony were really good mates. They lived next door to each other.
He even knew Lemmy, which is cool.
Yeah, my dad was like, he wasn't as close to Lemmy, but like I'm telling some Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin stories, and I'm also talking about why Slade are one of the greatest bands of all time. But you can skip through
Definitely
the
one of the
Slade
greatest
songs
bands.
if you do not like Slade.
Oh no,
which is
you gotta like
crazy.
Slade. Yeah, you're an insane person if you don't like Slade. You're missing out on one of the best bands, best rock bands from the 70s. So go check that out. Just go to patreon.com/sick and wrong, sign up today and get all this extra stuff. Get a lot of sick and wrong bang for your buck. Also, we got a T Public store. So if you want to get some sick and wrong merch, like a t-shirt or other stuff that they have a lot of stuff. They've like allowed us to merchandise everything. They got like coasters and stickers and dildos and butt plugs, all sorts of stuff. Put our logo on it. Anyway, just go to sickandwrongpodcast.com/shop, click on the picture of the Pope, and you go to the T Public Sick and Wrong store. And Sick and Wrong song of the week. This actually wasn't the original song of the week, but due to an unfortunate circumstance that happened this week, we decided to switch it up. So garage punk and rockabilly musician Dan Sartain died this week at the age of 40. Dan Sartain was a good friend of Kate here.
Yeah, like I've had some really good times chatting to Dan because we both had records out on the same label over here, Drunken Sailor. But other than that, the guitarist in Goldie Dawn, he's known Dan Sartain for like easily 20 years because they're part of like the kind of John Reese Rocket from the Crypt crowd. But Dan was such a cool guy. He was a barber. He was a Ramones worshiper. And the world is like definitely lost someone cool, someone
Very
really,
talented
really
guy.
good.
So
Really
what happened? He
talented.
committed suicide, right?
Yeah, he can. Well, that's what they're saying at the minute, that he went into his barbershop and committed suicide. Don't know how, but he just did. And yeah, I'm gutted
This
about
past
it.
week.
It's always like whenever anyone like kills themselves, I always just think, oh, what a fucking idiot. And I do think, Dan, what a fucking idiot. Because there was going to be
That's
one
the
point where
last
our
response.
bands, we're going to, Goldie Dawn and Dan Sartain, we're going to do like a tour together. We were going to do like a super group. The last time I actually talked to him, we were talking about what songs we would cover and what we would do. And it's like, it's so fucking sad that that's never going to happen now. And just...
Yeah,
feel
it's a loss. The
really
guy was
bad for
very
him.
talented.
He
Very
was
talented.
great. And it's not just me who's going to miss him. There's so many more people out there who are going to miss him. And he's going to be missed on the scene.
Yeah,
On
no,
the
I mean
rock
he
and
had
roll scene, he was a figurehead. And I'm
he had a
gutted.
major cult following, this
He
guy.
did.
So we're gonna end the show here with a song they did called "You Can't Go Home No More." And it's from his album that I think was an upcoming record. I'm not sure if it ever came out. Arise, Dan Sartain, Arise. But yeah, definitely a very talented musician who will be missed. Rest in peace, Dan Sartain. People will be back next week with episode 784. Till then, take it sleazy. All right.
Yeah, everyone should check out Dan Sartain. He's really cool. One of my favorite anecdotes about Dan is like, yeah, so he's just committed suicide, so that's a pretty fucking bad thing. But I think the worst thing that
sucks.
Dan ever did was that he has a rocket from the Crypt tattoo, and he got
God,
it when he
why?
was like 15 because they were his favorite band.
Well, I like Rocket from the Crypt too, but why would you get the tattoo?
Because he's like 15, he's drunk at a party, and John Reese is in a few Dan Sartain videos. You can see John Reese like knocking about in there. But yeah, it's really sad. And I think people have like he was a figurehead in like Birmingham, Alabama as well. He's like his barber shop was like really well known because he was into that whole kind of vintage barber side. And there's a really good like little mini documentary. He only released it 5 months ago where it's like he's on the road to go and record at Sun, where he recorded a lot of these last songs. And it's just about him hanging about the town, hanging about Nashville, and everyone, because like, everyone kind of knows him. He's like a known musician, so it's just really cool to see how everyone's talking to him and reacting to him. I'm gonna miss Dan. Yeah, he was a
Yeah,
cool
that's a
guy.
bummer. That's a
Yeah.
bummer. Fucking cool. Yeah. Cool song too that we're ending the show with.
Yeah, he's written loads of cool songs, and like there's loads of like different things. Like you can tell when he was obsessed with the Ramones, so he did a little Ramones album, and like he's been listening to loads of Elvis here, so there's like a little Elvis album.
We
So-
kind of had this rockabilly thing going on.
Oh, completely. But
Yeah.
he wasn't like putting that on. Like you know how some rockabillys are like
The Stray
putting it
Cats.
on. Yeah, Dan Sartain was that type of person. And it's just it kind of is like that when you're a creative individual. You're gonna know other creative people, and there are like a lot of people are damaged. A lot of people in music and in the arts are just damaged.
It had to be a
people.
rough year for him this past year.
Oh, completely. But I
Not,
think
not being able
like,
to tour, not being able to cut hair. I mean, he's a barber.
yeah,
He's lived in Alabama. Is that where he lived?
yeah, Birmingham, Alabama. So
That's a bummer.
yeah, it is a bummer, but what can you do? I just feel sad that he was so sad that that's what you can
That's
do.
what happens.
It is
Nothing
what
you can do
happens is
about
you
it.
get like this isn't my first fucking rodeo with having a friend kill themselves, and it won't be my last.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's life. Every man is an island. You cannot control them.
Anyway, yeah, we were gonna end the show originally with a CCR song, Creedence song called "Sweet Hitchhiker."
One of
From-
the best bands.
Yeah, but from one of their worst albums, their last
last
record.
album.
Yeah, which Tom Fogerty left the band. I think I don't even think he was on that record.
No, he wasn't by that point. He'd
Yeah, I
left.
think he left the band. So it was like John Fogerty and the other guys.
Joe
the-
Clifford and Stu.
Excuse me. The album's called Mardi Gras, and it's the last Creedence record. And like the other guys were like, we want songwriting credits too. And so John Fogerty was like, fine, you guys write some songs. And he only wrote 2 songs, one of them being Sweet Hitchhiker is a great song. And there are only 2 good songs on the album.
The Fogerty
John
ones.
Fogerty songs.
Fogerty.
Yeah.
Fogerty,
It's such-
Fogerty. Yeah,
it's just
completely.
such a shitty fucking record
awful.
which sucks because Creedence is probably one of the greatest rock and roll bands.
Yeah, well, I had a fucking Fogerty jumper on last week. He's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
Kate loves Creedence, but Creedence is one of the great. They're one of the best rock and roll bands.
I said
They
this on
really
the
are.
the Slade Overkill. There's like 3 bands that I listen to like at least 4 times a week, and that's CCR, Slade, and the Ramones. They're just on constant rotation. I never will not listen to them.
Yeah, all those bands.
Yeah,
All those bands
CCR
are great.
forever, baby.
I go on like CCR kicks
Binges,
and
yeah.
and Slade. Yeah, Slade binges too, where I'm like, oh shit. And I'll listen to like one song. Next thing you know, I'm like for the next 2 weeks, just solid Slade, solid
Yeah.
CCR. So I haven't been on a Ramones kick in a well, I was like maybe a few months ago.
I'm permanently on a Ramones kick.
I love
I'll
that. I
never
love
not
the
be on a Ramones
love
kick.
the Ramones. They're one of the
One of the
greatest
best bands
bands.
ever. Yeah. 80s
Yeah.
Ramones as well. 80s Ramones.
And fucking great. Well, some of those albums though are like have songs that you don't know as well as like the earlier albums.
Yeah. I
you know?
whenever somebody says to me that the first Ramones album is the best, I just think, no, it's not. It's like 10th on the list.
I like that record. I like Rockets Russia. I like all
I was gonna say Rockets Rupture, Subterranean Jungle.
yeah, like
Probably
I
my
like those
favorite.
records. I mean, I think they're great, but it's like the first Ramones record. It's like you've heard every single song like 10 million times. Kind of like Led
They're
Zeppelin
so
4.
slow. They're so slow when you compare it to like the rest of the Ramones stuff.
Yeah.
Really
Oh
slow.
yeah, yeah. Definitely
Yeah.
like later on, but Yeah, such a good. They're one of the best bands.
Me and you are
Yeah,
fucking music fucking nerds. Man.
Anyway, people, I gotta go to bed. It's fucking 4 a.m. over here. I don't know what time it is over there.
Me too. I have to go to work tonight, so
Oh shit. All right.
yeah.
All right. Well, peace out, everybody. It's been fun hanging out.
Yeah, next time.